Yes, we are live, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another live of Boomer 11. And wish you all a happy Dashera, who all are celebrating across the world. To start off with, I have Jaren and Sandibani joining me today to talk about a lot of cricket because from the last time we met, a lot has happened, especially India going on to win the series, Pakistan losing the series surprisingly in their own backyard. Then Australia and West Indies have gotten off to decent starts. Boomerang officially being out of the T20 World Cup now. Last time when we came, we were still a little skeptical, and we were also optimistic about Bumrah returning for at some stage in the tournament. But yeah, but before that, we'll start off with asking a very generic question to both of you. How do you see this cricket season panning out, Jaren? I'll start with you, then I'll come because a lot has happened in a very short while, especially for so many teams. A lot of selection conundrum across the world. It's just not India. A lot of teams have been facing a lot of selection conundrums. How do you see this turning out? Because this is a very crucial month. I know this is a World Cup month, but this half of the month, especially the first 2 weeks, we're seeing a lot of things to be yet made. Pakistan or Australia, India, England. So, how do you see this panning out in terms of confidence, in terms of players reacting to it, and all these things?
Yeah, I mean, big tournaments in any sport is going to be is a difficult time for the management and for the captains. It's a headache because and there's always a headache. I think no management goes into a World Cup without a headache. For some teams, the headache is a lot sweeter. For example, India, who have the problem of plenty. For some teams, the headaches are worse. When you don't know whom to give those roles, there are so many roles available and you don't know who will be you are not able to find any soul who's going to fit in that role. And I think there are some teams which are struggling with that as well. And that's just because of the pressure that comes with the World Cup. And that's why fans love to see these big tournaments, because we all tune in to see what is a solution for all the problems that we see. For example, India is going through the issue that Bumrah is not playing, but the three matches that we saw against South Africa, maybe barring the one match where I feel on all in the South Africa India series, both the teams had their off days. India had sort of an off day with their batting in the third match. The first match, South Africa had an off day with the bat. Then with the ball in the second match. So that was, you know, but my point being, India, I think, will feel comfortable that they were able to beat South Africa, a full strength South Africa, by the fact that even though the fact that Bumrah was not there, and every team towards the end will have one weakness coming into the World Cup, right? Because I don't think any team in this World Cup especially looks unbeatable. But at the same time, there are areas where a team looks invincible, right? Where we've spoken about, let's say India's top order right now looks really scary. Up until Suryakumar Yadav, I think India is looking very secure.
Hmm.
Everyone is scoring runs. Even KL Rahul has come good. But somewhere you feel like maybe India has a problem with the 19th over, right? Same way we speak about how Australia is looking really good, stacked in the middle order. But I mean, there are chinks there as well. Their top order looks a bit weak, or rather, their openers. If you look at, because the Cam Green is not going to be playing, he's not going to be solving that problem for them. Is
Hmm.
Aaron Finch still? He is looking like he's coming back to form. Is
Yeah.
Aaron Finch and David Warner the ones you're going to bank on? And if not, then whom do you go with? And also, a lot of players are coming back with injury. How do you integrate them into the no, into the playing 11? All of that is a headache. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
Interesting. Sanjeev, I'll come to you now because often we've talked about cricket being played in a festive season, and how do you see this festive season? I'll just ask a very generic question now. Nothing from cricket. How is the festive season going on? I
Yeah,
hope you're
first
having a
of
good
all,
time.
happy Dashera to everyone. And then if you are a Bengali, then we have Vijaya Dashami tonight. Like all the like idols are being immersed right now, and some I think will take place tomorrow and the day after. But all in all, the Durga Puja, the entire festival, the vibe that we get to see in West Bengal, I think it is slowly and slowly starting to like come to an end. So
Mm.
everybody here in Bengal is quite sad right now because again next year they'll get this sort of a huge holiday. Like they take all 10 days, and now in Kolkata it's like right from Mohalaya we have 10 days of celebration going in, and then
Yeah.
in other parts of Bengal probably 5 or 6 days. Starting from the
Mm-hmm.
fifth or sixth day, so all in all, it's coming to an end. So a lot of updates over there, and then
Yeah.
talking about the cricket season, I think it's
I
good
think
that we. Yeah.
There's still Diwali to come, so the festive season is
Yeah,
not
yeah,
yet
yeah.
done.
But still, it's 2 weeks away,
Yeah, I
and I
think
think for
for
West
them
Bengal
it's a.
folk,
I mean,
this is the
I'm
biggest
not a
festival.
Bengali, but I think this is a season that they enjoy the most,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
this is the season
definitely.
that
I
they love.
mean,
Diwali
I know
is
people who just take
second.
holidays right from the start of Durga Puja till the end of Diwali. I mean, all their holidays combined, they take it in
Wow.
October itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a huge festival out here, and it was good to see some cricket action going and as well. And I think England played a brilliant brand of cricket in Pakistan with the youngsters, and they got to win, and another bilateral series win for this Indian team without
Hmm.
Bumrah.
I'll
So
ask you a very, very festive season question now.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
Diwali is at the start of this month, at the end of the month, sorry, and you
yeah.
have an India Pakistan game. So, would you rather go out celebrating Diwali or sit at home watching India Pakistan match?
No, when it comes to India versus Pakistan in a World Cup, I mean there is no choice really, because like I'm just speaking for myself. I'll just sit and watch the game. But yeah, I know people who will sort of
Yeah, but I
go
mean,
out and enjoy the
that's a
festival.
nice question. But I feel every time whenever there's Diwali or not, if India wins against Pakistan, you see the fireworks anyway. So
So
it's
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
always a
yeah,
fair
it
It
makes
makes
a
Diwali.
lot
whenever
more
India is
sense
beating
this time to
Pakistan in
actually
India at
celebrate
least.
with fireworks because I think India Pakistan match is happening on the Choti Diwali, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the Choti Diwali is a day where you celebrate more, where you actually blast a lot more crackers than on the day of Diwali. So it gives an occasion for India to actually have fireworks on the field so that it can translate or transcend it to fireworks in India and hopefully a pollution-free Diwali. Often we have seen after Diwali. I'm not going to go much into it, but let's hope
I
it's a
think we're not
safe
going to get
Diwali as well.
any sort of mocha advertisements this time around. So I think Star Sports will have to come up with something new.
It's a different one. I already saw the ad. It's on wrestling. It's on how this small kid just walks into the small kid who just lifts everything up. They're showing a lot more wrestling kind of thing. How it's all about like packing the punch. I like the ad this time. It is no more mocha. I thought it was such a disgraceful ad for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
just don't think
definitely. So I
that
mean,
No,
with,
ad
with
will.
with
it
the thumping
was,
defeat that
I think the first time they had it, it was fun because it was sort of a banter of sorts. But the second and the third and the fourth, it just became repetitive, and it was a disgraceful ad. I think the first run was okay, but then
Yeah,
on it just went bad. It
yeah,
was not
yeah,
yeah.
good.
The first
it's
World
the
Cup it was
case with
all good.
almost
Yeah.
everything, right? Yeah, the first time, if you do it for the first time, it looks nice.
So I
Second
Yeah,
time,
didn't
okay,
see
chalo, we'll take it.
the aftermath of that. Did he actually blast the crackers? So that's what I'm eager about.
I don't think
Definitely, definitely.
I
I
don't
mean,
think the way Indian fans are feeling, if they're shown the second half of it.
I mean, there would have been a lot of outrages and a lot of
Yeah.
TV sets broken in India itself if they would have
Yeah.
shown the aftermath of that ad.
Stars. They would have been a Twitter trend called boycott Star Sports. So
But
you
maybe,
don't want to go.
maybe there's some smart, channel.
We should
Maybe
not
there's some sport
initiate
broadcasters
something
in
like that.
Pakistan who might have a say on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I would have loved to seen that, but that's how it is. You can't really show some stuff. Now we have an interesting question from Kapil who asked, "Does Pakistan really have an edge over India in the World Cup?" I think it's 50-50 at this point because Pakistan have their own woes, India have their own woes. So because if there was Bumrah, I would have given India that edge of 60-40. Given what Pakistan have played out in their own backend, where the batting was in awful form, they just couldn't get going. But then
No, but
ultimately, at this
honestly,
point, I think
I
it
feel
starts
even
on a
with
level
Bumrah
playing field.
missing, I would still give India the edge. A slight edge maybe,
Hmm.
but still the edge.
Yeah,
They look the more
maybe.
balanced side. They have just the issue of the death over bowling. Apart from that, I think the Indian team looks sorted. And if you consider, India has beaten a full strength South African team at their
Yeah.
home. Pakistan
Yeah.
lost to a young England team at their home. So I think that is going to be very demoralizing for
Also,
the Pakistan
yeah,
team.
I think I'll just add to what Sandeep was
Yesterday
saying.
when
There were problems that we
Indian
discussed.
team was batting, right? Yesterday's game
Yeah.
at 228, we were chasing. We were 9 down for 128, 140 out for 9. I still had a feeling that Umesh Yadav could pull this win off. I don't know why. For the first ever time, I had this feeling that our tailenders can chase this down because that was the conditions, right? It was a flat track. Ballers had nothing to
Yeah.
do. It was just a track where everyone were going for runs. Did you guys have it? I just felt like, oh my god, Umesh Yadav for the first time is gonna come and swing the bat, score 60 odd runs of 20 balls, and make look like one of the great finishers.
Yeah, but yesterday we fell on the wrong side of this very aggressive approach where we go after the bowling right from ball one.
Yeah.
I understand the
Mm.
target was 228, but if you see in the last game where South Africa were chasing 237, David
Yeah.
Miller started that onslaught from the 15th or 16th over. Quinton de Kock was finding it very difficult to get going.
So wait,
If
David
they would
Miller
have,
came to bat in the last over, right? Isn't it?
yeah, like he got himself going in the 17th. No, I'm not talking about the third game, I'm talking about the second
Oh, okay,
game
fine,
when
fine,
South
fine.
Africa
Yeah,
was
yeah.
chasing 238. So I mean, the approach that they took from the 13th or 14th over onwards kept wickets in hand. If they would have got going from the 11th over, right from the 11th over, because they had 7 wickets in hand, they had everything to play for, they could have gone for it. I think they went, the ammunition, the attack came a little bit later. But I love that approach. India used to go ahead with that approach, but right now the new Indian team, they go out hard early on. And we have games where India go on to score 230s, 240s, but we'll also have those games where India will lose 3 or 4 wickets in the power play itself. And yesterday India did not have, like, they had a very deep sort of, they had plenty of bowling all rounders, so as to say, but they did not have they were missing a proper batter. So you don't
Mhm.
expect Akshar Patel to
I
come in at number
felt
6.
I felt yesterday, India kind of I felt Dinesh Karthik and Rishabh Pant, the way they lost their wickets was
Yeah, it was a
not
bit
required.
careless. Yeah.
I also felt like India didn't actually, I think India just wanted to try out something. I felt I think Kapil Verma is right. India
Yeah,
didn't
Kapil
look
Verma
like.
has got his spot on. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
complacence is the
absolutely.
word.
It looked like India felt either they felt they had tamed South Africa and there was no way they're gonna lose it, or I felt India didn't actually. I mean, this is probably gonna be very
Mm.
off when I say it, but it felt like India was not, or India's sole goal was not to just win the match. They were trying something new
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah. I felt that
Yeah,
from
it
the
didn't
first.
feel like, maybe it felt like they were trying to set a target. If that makes
You know what?
sense.
Sometimes it's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's good to
I mean,
try a
it
lot of
makes.
things in a game
I
like this.
feel. I felt like India was trying to set a target of sort. I felt India came out thinking
Another thing
we want
is,
to chase
what,
down
Darren?
this 228
I
with
understand
some
a lot of times.
overs to spare.
Yeah, correct. There are a lot of times where we give a lot of prominence for these bilateral series, but at times you just need to get out of that zone where you need to
Yeah.
try a lot of things. That's why I thought Pakistan weren't doing that. For example, England did that so well. England
Yeah, so I
did try
think
a lot of
yesterday
things.
India's approach was very good, because like, I personally, I feel that they gave it everything that they had. They went at it hard. They could not win it, they could not pull it off. The dead
Mm,
bowling is one major concern that I feel that the Indian team has right now, especially
yeah,
with no Bumrah not being there for the World Cup. I think
yeah.
Harshal Patel and
I think
Arshdeep
we'll
Singh will
talk
have a
about that
huge
in
role to
depth
play.
going ahead. Before that, we'll
Yeah.
just address what Mokshit has asked. For me, Mokshit, I just think, West Indies are going to be one of the dark horses. Today's match is, you might see they just scored 145, but if you look at the pitch offered a lot of turn and they just pulled the game so close. If those two drop catches wouldn't have been done in the last over, I think it was West Indies game. And I would blame Kyle Myers, and I think it was Rifer who dropped the last catch, the first catch of
Yeah, that's
Matthew
right.
Wade, and then Mitchell Stark's catch was dropped by Kyle Myers. Those two would have been taken. I think West Indies would have won that game by a comfortable 4 to 5 runs. So they have themselves to blame. It was a very close game, and West Indies did bat pretty well. So, and it was
But
a
I
kind of
think one thing that I've been very impressed with the West Indies team has been their adaptability with, like, against the spin bowlers. If you consider the West
Hmm.
Indies team from last year same time, like 6th of October to 2021, all these batsmen, these youngster batsmen, they were finding it very hard to pick the spinners. The way
hmm.
they played Zampa today, I think it was a good enough job. I like, you can just play out
It
a
wasn't
spinner.
bad. It
Yeah,
wasn't bad, but also the pitch was doing quite. It was not coming onto the
Yeah,
bat.
but
What was
I
stopping
think,
quite a bit.
for me personally, I feel West Indies will be very happy about the fact that they came so close to defending that target of 149,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
throughout these years, even when West Indies was a powerhouse, a T20 powerhouse, their bowling has always been their weakness. It's always let them down, because even the West Indies of the old, we knew that they could chase down any target, but at the same time, we knew they were mercurial enough to give away any target, and teams have done that with them in the past. Whatever target West Indies has set, they have been chased down. But yes, the way they played today, it felt like, West Indies. The bowling came through really well. I know it was a pitch which assisted the bowling, but it'll really help. I would really think. I think Nicholas Puram will be very proud of his bowlers. The fact that he brought it so close, and if they had held their catches, it would have been a different story.
Absolutely, and I think, as Moksha rightly mentions, catches win matches, and absolutely, there is no replacement for that age-old saying, catches win matches. If you drop catches, you saw in the game against South Africa as well. Abel drinking alcohol live. Wow. Wow. The guy is just sparkling coffee. Not sponsored by Paperboat, of course, but yeah, just sparkling coffee. So mm. I'll just drink that once again before we go
Abel
ahead.
is not that brave. Not
Yeah,
right
I'm
now,
not
at
that.
least. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Secondly,
usually
I'm a
comes to the live previews.
toddler.
I'm
I
just
like
kidding.
I like to call myself a street toddler. Maybe let's not go for that discussion now. So Rahul Rawat reported Virat skipped an Indian game for ad shoot, and KL Rahul took a break to see wedding venue. By the way, who is Rahul Rawat? That's my question. Who
I was just
even
going to
is
ask
Rahul
that,
Rawat?
but and also I don't know why Rahul Rawat is so interested in the personal lives.
Yeah, like who the hell is Rahul Rawat? That's my question. Now,
All right,
why
I'm
does
just
Rahul Rawat
searching it
even
up.
care of where Virat goes? I mean,
I
Indian
think
team gave
Rahul
him break.
Rawat, by giving that tweet, has
See,
allowed him to go.
I'll tell you who
I
this
just
Rawat is. This Rahul Rawat would have come in if India would have played Kohli and KL Rahul. This is the same guy who would have come in and said that the selectors are risking too much playing Virat Kohli and KL Rahul ahead of the World
Yes,
Cup. I mean, an injury
absolutely.
can come in at any point of
oh,
time.
so Rahul Rawat is a cricketer.
I
I
have no idea who
is it?
Rahul Rawat is, but then definitely he looks like a guy who's interested in KL Rao's wedding venue preparation. So he knows a thing or two about cricket for sure. But everything except cricket he knows. He knows where Virat went for ad shoot and where KL Rahul went for his wedding venue. So
My God.
I'm sure his sources are updating him pretty well. But yeah, as
Okay, I
Sandeep
mean, so
rightly,
I
this is
found some absolute. I mean, I never knew Rahul Rawat was, but I think it's an interesting Google search. Uh, that's all I'm gonna say. I don't
Yeah,
want to go
rightly.
any
Mokshit has
further.
mentioned Rahul Rawat OP. I think yeah, it's the right thing
guys,
to
if
do
you're a
right
big
now.
fan of Rahul Rawat, put Rahul Rawat OP on the chat for giving us this wonderful
I mean, but
information.
it's interesting that Virat and I don't know what to say.
I think, as I put, I don't want to go into Rahul Dravid, but then let's just not talk about Rahul. Let's talk about Rahul Dravid over here. Rahul Dravid yesterday came out stating that they did not ball Akshar Patel to left-handers because of the matchups. I want to know from you both, what are your thoughts on matchups, especially slow left-arm bowler to a left-hand batter, and especially with the form Akshar Patel was in. Do you think sometimes matchups are slightly overrated when it comes to an informed bowler bowling to a left-hand batter? Because I understand the boundaries was just a mockery. It was just a park. I would say my park is bigger than this. I'm being very honest with
See,
you.
but if you
60 meter
go back to
boundaries is
the
just a
first
mockery of a
first
cricket game.
T20I review that we had done, I had told, like, I had predicted this, that both the games from like the second and third is going to be, the aggregate runs is going to be in excess of 400, and I think we got both the games because the pitches were a joke. I mean, honestly, it was a flat batting deck that batsmen will enjoy. The centuries that Riley Russo and David Miller scored, taking nothing away from them, and all the runs that India scored, taking nothing away from the batsmen, I think, but it was very easy to bat on. It was a simple deck to bat on. The bowlers were finding it very difficult. Having said that, I think like Akshar Patel was introduced to the attack for 1 over, and Riley Russo was, and Quinton de Kock, I think both of them hit him for 1 6s each. I mean, 1 boundaries each at least. And they were finding it very easy because Akshar Patel usually does not bowl a very fuller sort of a delivery. He often bowls into that good length area where players like Riley Russo, they just stay on the back foot, and they just try to hoik the ball over mid wicket. And I think that becomes easy when the ground is the dimensions of the ground is comparatively smaller. So I think it was okay. Like, it was a good call from Rohit
Mhm.
Sharma not to bowl
Yeah.
Akshar Patel. But then the replacement that they had for Akshar Patel, I mean, the bowlers that were bowling in the death overs were not better in any way. So they were also sort of
I
like,
also think it had to do a lot with Akshar Patel bowling that 20th over in that game in the second T20, where he went for
yeah.
close to 20 runs against two left-hand batters. Maybe that
He
kind
went
of
for
dented Rohit
26, I
Sharma's
think, if
confidence to
I'm not
go.
wrong. 20.
Yeah, he went for close to 21 runs in that last over. Maybe that also dented Rohit Sharma's confidence a tad bit in going to him in that second T20, where he thought Riley Russo was striking the ball pretty well. And also, I thought they should have gone to him when Tristan Stubbs was batting. But then by the time David Miller came, it was the last over. But there also, I differ. I still think they should have gone with Akshar Patel because he was the bowler in form. He was bowling beautifully. You never know, right? Maybe one miscued shot, Riley Russo could have been out. And yesterday, also you saw so a lot of shots were missed time, but then it was going over the boundary because of the shortness of the boundary, which is 55 meters towards the square. That's just like a park. It's just more than 30 yards. I think it's a mockery of a cricket ground. I think you shouldn't play games on grounds like that, especially T20 matches, because then what does bowlers have?
Well, it was
Top wickets are
entertaining if
carrying.
you are a fan to see in excess of 400 runs being scored. But if you have any sort of sympathy for the bowlers or empathy for the bowlers, you would not enjoy yesterday's pitch or the pitch the second T20 I was played on, because those were some of the flattest decks that I've seen. And I'm saying this because we have been very critical about the pitches that Pakistan sport for a game,
Yeah.
especially test matches. So when we get this sort of belters in India, we have to be a bit critical about them as well.
But
Because
to
I
be
just
very
don't want
fair,
to sound
it
like a
doesn't do
hypocrite.
you any good before going to Australia. And secondly, if you wanted to prepare for Australia, you prepare in bigger grounds. I love the way how they set up for the Australian series. We played in Mohali and
Yeah,
Hyderabad, where the grounds were a little more bigger. I like the game
definitely.
in Trivandrum. I hope the pitch was slightly better. It was a green top, which you're never going to get in Australia. But otherwise, that ground dimensions were very good. All the
Yeah.
two grounds, the dimensions were very poor. You also saw a snake having a better time, as a better time than a bowler in those grounds, because it had more action than a bowler on those grounds as well. So that's how bad it was for bowlers on both the grounds, and that's why Indian, especially when it comes to pick the highest run scorer in India in the World Cup, Virat Sky or Rahul.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's a very tough question. I mean,
I think I'll
I
go
think
for
it's a toss up between Rahul and no, not Rahul.
no. I
Sorry,
don't think it's going to be
Suryakumar Yadav
Rahul.
and Virat Kohli.
I think it's going to be Surya Kumar Yadav,
And
Virat Kohli. But
I
then just
feel,
giving back.
I love their partnership together. And I think most of
Yeah,
India's
I
runs
think we should
will
talk
come
about
with.
that because we not cover the second T20.
Yeah.
I low key I also tweeted this out. It gave me RCB 2016 vibes. AB de Villiers, Virat Kohli batting together. One accelerates, one takes back,
And
the
the
next
second
accelerates.
T20 was not the first time that they sort of like gelled together and had a massive partnership. Like in the recent past, they have had quite a few sort of explosive partnerships where Virat Kohli has played the second fiddle most of the time, because Surya Kumar
Mm,
Yadav, when he gets going, it is just so wonderful to see him get going,
yeah.
because he just
But you know what?
smacks the ball all
I'll
around the park.
slightly
Yeah.
tend towards Virat Kohli being the highest run scorer because Surya Kumar Yadav has not yet played in Australia. So I do not know how he's going to go in Australia. But with the kind of form he's in, the kind of back foot game he has, he should ideally succeed in Australia. And also him coming at number 4 is the only reason why I'm not going to put him as a leading run scorer for Team India. It could well be like Asia Cup where
Yeah, but then
Virat
I
Kohli
mean,
is going to be the
I
highest
could
leading.
reverse it as well. You know, the fact that Suryakumar Yadav is the aggressor, and when Virat Kohli and Suryakumar Yadav play, Virat Kohli always tends to, take a single, give the strike to Suryakumar Yadav, unless
Yeah.
it goes to the 15th, 16th over. So that could be the fact that Virat Kohli might play the second fiddle to Suryakumar Yadav, and that might allow
Agree
Suryakumar
to
Yadav to
that.
score more
I
runs.
agree to that. India lose
So,
2 wickets.
I
yeah.
think KL Rahul is going to be the leading run scorer for India, especially because India is going to play three of some of the weaker teams, like
No,
three of the
don't tell
teams.
me this. Don't tell me this is a justification make KL Rahul leading run scorer.
But you see, you'll see after the World Cup, you guys will come to me and say, yeah, right
But
prediction.
in that case, I also think India will be out of the World Cup if KL Rahul ends up being the leading run scorer. I know there's no offense to KL Rahul over here, but yeah.
No. I think India is going to make it, and I think KL Rahul will be the leading run scorer for India.
Oh,
But
alright,
it should be someone from the top 3 ideally. Why I don't give Sky
Definitely.
is Sky will play those big knocks. Sky will play those clutch knocks for Team India. But I'm not sure of him being the leading run scorer for Team India.
You know
He'll
why?
be the
Because
biggest match winner for Team
the
India.
game that Surya Kumar Yadav plays, that does not allow him to like sort of take too many balls to settle down,
Yeah,
because
but then
that is not the role that India.
he is the leading run scorer for India in this year. So it's not like he
Yes,
can't
But
score
he
more
has
runs.
played the most number of matches as well. I mean,
But
him and Rohit Sharma.
there's another
Fair
side of
enough.
on the flip side, India have been playing the approach where they've been going berserk from ball 1. So which
Yeah.
also means the number 4 gets to bat way too earlier than what we used to see before. Before, a number 4 used to come to bat at 11th over, 10th over, where from there you don't expect a batter to score those many runs. But Suryakumar Yadav also has got that fifth gear where he can accelerate from ball 1, score those 20 ball 50s,
But for
24,
India's sake,
70s.
everybody would sort of pray that the purple patch that Surya Kumar Yadav has been carrying out throughout
And
the year
I
would
have a
continue.
feeling Surya Kumar Yadav is going to be like a Yuvraj Singh for Team India, like in 2007 World Cup, where he's going to be the X factor for Team India. If
Yeah,
India
yeah,
has to
yeah,
chase those big
absolutely.
scores
Yeah.
or set those big scores, you need a Surya Kumar Yadav powering, and Virat Kohli will be your backbone. Surya Kumar Yadav will be AB de Villiers to a Virat Kohli. Because when AB de Villiers
Honestly,
bats,
what I
Virat
feel,
Kohli looks
I
much
feel
more
there has to
comfortable
be
the
some
other
sort
time.
of changes in the way the ICC ranking. They come up with the ICC
I swear I don't
ranking.
care about that. I
Yeah,
swear it's the most awful thing which I've ever seen. I don't even know how is that ranking even judged on, who is the adjudicator, what is the point
yeah,
system.
yeah.
Personally,
No, no. I
I
think
still need
it
to
was a good
really clear
system
a lot
back
of
then,
stuff.
but right now you have to add a couple of more parameters, like the impact that the batsman is having.
Hmm, hmm.
That is not considered. Like
Yeah, a
all the
lot of
statisticians
parameters
out
need to be
there, I mean,
considered.
you
Not
can just
just that,
come
to
up
be
with a
very
model.
fair, if Virat Kohli has to be your third best all rounder in the world for Team India, you know how bad the ranking is, right? Virat Kohli is the third best all rounder in the T20I setup of Team India as per the rankings. And also, not just that, ICC's point system was just so bad. ICC's point system when it comes to World Test Championship, when it comes to a ODI Super League, when it comes to a T20 setup, it's
I
all
mean, they
so
have
vague.
the simplest of the basic of calculations going into the all this sort of points table, which is right from a viewer standpoint. But when you are like, it's a ICC is the world governing body. I mean, you should have better. You can have more complex sort of. My question, my sort of problem is that you can have a bit more complex point system where you get to judge a player's impact on the team, and the
Hmm.
impact that the player has on the
Like,
game.
how do you suggest? I mean, do you suggest a fantasy point sort of system where you have
Yeah,
like a
yeah, more
fixed,
like that.
it's a
It
certain
works.
More
It
like
point,
that,
really
or
works.
definitely more like that, because that makes
yeah?
sense.
I think fantasy points is the
But
most
then, I
fairest
mean,
base of judging anything.
but then my
For
question
example,
being, like for example, we have seen
No,
this
but you
this
have to
this
refine.
trend.
You have to refine the fantasy points
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
and you
sense
have
that,
to.
yeah,
I feel at least to be. I mean, whatever system ICC follows, even currently, what they should do is they should mention and at least publicize those systems, the groundwork, what they do. It shouldn't sound arbitrary because we as viewers don't understand how come someone has come first or second. Even if
yeah,
even those who watch it so much, because we don't because to us it sounds arbitrary because we don't know what goes behind the curtains. So if they
yeah.
can tell us the system, how particular it is or how specific it is, that will give us some insight. Because we're sitting here
Yeah.
right now, we can't really judge what is happening behind the
Yeah, I
curtains.
mean,
Is
you
it?
you get the basic parameters, like for a batsman's ranking
Yeah, and
system, you
I'll just
obviously
go out
have
and
the.
say I'll just go out and say this more. I'll go out and say this: the fact that I feel even when you man of the matches are given, right? Man of the matches are
Yeah.
currently given where one commentator is selected the
yeah,
earlier
I have
before
a
the match
question on the
begins.
same thing. Don't you think it was berserk to give KL Rahul the man of the match for the second T20I?
I
I know
mean, even
Sunil
KL Rahul
Gavaskar
was
objected.
surprised, so I guess that pretty much answers your question.
Yeah, KL Rahul did not agree to it as well, and I have my own reservation about the person who chose the man of the match, about his commentatory, about the way in which he judges stuff these days on field. I also feel commentators should have a retirement age. To be very fair, as we speak about cricketers, commentators should have a retirement age after 65, 70. If you are really, really unable to commentate and talk logical sense and to find logical sense in the modern game, just commentate for test matches, do not come for
But I
T20,
think
because I know
I
people.
think, but then that kind of, because these commentators are how do I say? I mean, they are contracted by the broadcasters, or I think in India, I think BCCI has a list of them. So because it's not how do I put it? Because it's not the spectators who decide, or not the stakeholder,
Hmm,
but are the stakeholders within BCCI who decide it.
hmm.
I think a lot of it is because of the impact that, or the politics that they have. I feel
Mm.
I don't know how it
I
works
like
in
the way you
India.
have
I
used
think
the word politics, and I don't think we should dwell much into it. I think that's a
no, we
different
shouldn't.
issue
We shouldn't.
altogether.
But my point being, because the decision makers, right? The
Mm.
decision makers are not swayed by the impact he has on spectators, right, or the fans, but
Yeah,
rather the consideration is something outside the game. I feel, and that's the reason why. If you give it to the broadcasters, I think in India you have a BCCI list of contracted
yeah, they do,
commentators.
they do.
It's not the
I mean, it's
broadcasters
the
who bring
host,
the
Yeah,
commentators,
yeah.
broadcaster,
right?
and BCCI in togetherness coming together to choose the commentators
But
for
how
each
much
team.
how much say does a broadcaster have? And even if
I mean, broadcaster has a majority of the say in it, and
so
BCCI
then
agrees
so
to
then
it.
I suppose it depends on the broadcaster and how they see a
Yeah,
commentator's
because
impact
it's very
is. So
easy, right? Mr. Top
Yeah.
G just goes out there and comments anything what he wants, and people just agree to it because he whatever nonsense he comments, people have to agree to it. People have to listen to it because of the very reason I had to switch my commentary language when he's not there because it was getting awful to a stage. It's a very good question right now we've got from SS98. He asked if given a choice, will you prefer Rizwan's consistency over Sky's strike rate? I think it should be a no-brainer, boys. What do you reckon? I think it should be Sky's strike rate on
yeah,
any day.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
think it definitely is. In T20s, it's not about the long game anymore.
yeah.
We've seen Sri Lanka do it to perfection. When they did not have any player in that team who could play more than 5 overs, but the
Hmm.
team won the Asia Cup, and
Hmm.
that shows. I think that itself shows. And talking about Sky's strike rate, it's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Why do you
I
look
mean,
at some of the best
yeah.
T20 batsmen in the world have amazing
Hmm.
strike rates? Their average
Hmm.
might not be the greatest, but
Yeah.
their strike rates is what probably sets them apart, at least in T20I. 50
Hmm.
overs and test matches, you need average, but in T20I, the game has changed a lot quicker, and now strike rate is more
Absolutely.
important.
I think more time you spend in the crease, it does negative impact for your team. If you had a negative impact
Yeah.
measurement, I would say you would see Babar Azam on that list or a Rizwan on that list more often than not. For the
Yeah,
innings
but
what
I
he
think for
played in Asia
Pakistan,
Cup,
but for Pakistan, I think it works to an extent having someone like
Yeah,
a
see,
Rizwan.
I just wanted
Because
to
if
get
you
to
see the
that
moment,
point because
like
yeah,
the moment
because it depends
Rizwan
on the
and
team
Babar
as well.
Azam, yeah, I'll say,
If he,
the moment Babar Azam and Rizwan get out, the team doesn't seem like they are able to play 20 overs, right? So I think for Pakistan, the place they are right now, I think Babar and Rizwan somewhere are still working, is still helping them, you
yeah.
know, play those 20 overs. But and that's why Pakistan needs batsmen who are
You
able to
also saw
play
the
those.
effort from Babar and Rizwan in this series to change the way they were batting. You could see that in
Yeah,
the approach in the strike rate. It was 140 compared to it was 120, 117 in the Asia Cup.
which I
So
think,
there was a
I
stark
think
contrast.
140 is ideal for the Pakistani team. But then what happens is, but then obviously that the issue is, and I'm talking
see,
about in context
140
with
is
this
ideal for the
Pakistan team.
Pakistani team when they are playing at home. I don't
Yeah,
think
but my
140
point
will be
being,
ideal for the
Sanjamani,
team when
it's
they are playing in
ideal for the
Australia.
Pakistani team that they have right now. If you add a
Yeah,
Shoaib Malik to it, or if you add any player who can play 6-7 overs and strike at 150, then
I
that
mean,
strike rate
just
is gonna
put in somebody
take
like
negative impact.
like the role
But
that Mohammad Hafiz and Shoaib Malik played
yeah,
for
yeah,
quite some
and
time now.
that
They don't
middle
have a
order,
player like
ever
that
since
in
ever
the
since
current
Mohammad
team.
Hafiz and Shoaib Malik have left this team isn't able to play those 20 overs unless Babar or Rizwan sticks, and that's the reason why I feel the more and more T20 games that Babar and Rizwan have played, especially Rizwan, I feel, initially I felt he was a lot more attacking. Now I think he's
Mm.
scared to take those risks because I feel he especially feels if he gets out at a particular
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
then his team is going nowhere, and we saw
I
that
mean, I think the
whenever
perfect
Pakistan did
example of
not have.
this scene was in IPL when Mayank and KL used to bat for Punjab. It was the same situation where they used to play
Yeah,
this kind of knocks
yeah.
because they knew that there were nobody to follow them later on in the game. And that's the reason you saw KL Rahul being jailed into playing a certain way. He had to come out stating that
And
strike rate is
that
so
kind of
low. He said,
affected his game for a long term. I think now with
yeah,
this Indian team, and also I feel, in the upcoming IPL, the way Lucknow Super Giants are positioned, that won't be an issue for him anymore.
yeah,
But I think
yeah.
I think so for me, looking at this Pakistan team, because I
But
feel
honestly, for Lucknow
no
Super
one.
Giants as well, I think KL Rahul plays a similar sort of a role because
I
Yeah,
mean,
but
that is
actually
also because of the way in which he's been
but I mean,
used to
Sandhimani,
playing in a
don't you
way.
think like now this KL Rahul, who's taking a lot more initiative, will fit in a lot better now at Lucknow Super
yeah, I
Giants?
I
mean,
mean, that's a different
there is
debate
always
altogether.
two sides to it because you have Quinton de Kock, who is a very aggressive player,
Yeah,
but one problem with Quinton de Kock is his consistency. You won't see Quinton de Kock coming in when he's on song. He'll give you 3 consecutive half centuries in no time. But there are patches where he just does not get going. What will you
But
do
you know
then if you
what?
are
That shouldn't be an excuse for KL Rahul to play in that manner. It
hmm.
just
And
unlike KL Rahul. Just look at the match where he played in Guwahati, where he was striking the ball from ball one. He is just a phenomenal player. He can take on any bowling attack in the world when he's in that form.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I mean, KL Rahul made a name for himself playing that sort of a game. But then when he came into Punjab Kings, he had to sort of adjust to the team's requirement.
not initially, but when
Yeah, yeah,
responsibility
but
came to his shoulder, he
definitely,
had to
definitely, yeah.
modulate his game. So that's
And
the way.
also, they like he saw that his team, the middle order, was misfiring. It was not that they did not have big names. They had Maxwell, they had Puran, but they were not performing. They were not giving. They had Gale. The
Yeah.
team as a whole was not
But
performing.
at least Punjab had a better batting attack or a better names at least on paper compared to what Pakistan have at this point.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
after
and
Babar and Rizwan, you do not really have players. You are looking
you
for
don't have
names.
players who can play, more than 3 4 overs, and that's the reason why I feel that's the reason why they're forced of sorts. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that's the reason why Rizwan and Babar have that kind of strike rate. If tomorrow, and if so tomorrow, let's say someone of the level of Hafiz and Shoaib Malik come back to this Pakistan team, and the middle order is a little bit more strengthened, where even if Babar and Rizwan can go hell to leather, I feel at least Rizwan has got it in him to bat the strike rate that I wouldn't say Sky, but at least a bat at the strike rate that Virat Kohli can. At a
Mm.
140, 145, I think he can. I feel Rizwan has got the game for that. Babar, I don't think so, but I think Rizwan can. But because he is the only, because there's no insurance policy for Pakistan once Babar and Rizwan are out, Rizwan and Babar have to play that sort of innings. And they
Mm.
have to play in that fashion, play till the
Yeah.
20th over. If they don't
Makes
carry
sense.
their bat till the 13th over, then this Pakistan team seems more often than not
I
out
mean,
of the game.
I don't think it's a bad approach, but then every team has got their own way of playing T20 cricket.
It's going to hurt
It's
them in
just not like
Australia a lot.
one team has set a
Unless,
trend, everybody should follow them. It's just us, we say that Indian team should be following the way England is playing, and that's what's good for Team India, considering their bowling is a weaker suit at this point because of the injuries, because of the lack of consistency in terms of players. A lot of injuries have taken place in the short period, and due to which India have to go batting heavy in the T20 World Cup to win it. And you have seen it in IPL as well. The teams who have gone batting heavy have gone on to win IPL at times. For example, Chennai Super Kings of 2021, Chennai Super Kings of 2018 were supreme examples of all this. They did not have a supremely good-looking bowling lineup with the likes of Bumrah, Bolt. They had decent bowlers who could bowl and deliver you wickets, and they were batting heavy. They had strong top four who could win you games, and that's where you can choose that approach and win. But you need solid batting order. That's why Pakistan kind of lacks behind. I think they'll try to compensate with their bowling, but the bowling attack is also not looking very good. So that's why
yeah,
Pakistan are slightly on the weaker side going into Australia.
See, right
But
now, if you ask me, I think South Africa and India look to be like slightly more favorites than Pakistan in that group. Uh,
yeah, makes sense.
and especially because we have been seeing Pakistan struggle at their home conditions after a long time. We have not seen Pakistan lose a bilateral series at home, T20I bilateral series at home for a long time now, and they lost to a young England team, and I think this is going to be very demoralizing for the team because the matches that they won, two of the matches were very close encounters, and the one
Yeah.
that they won convincingly, they had Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan, the two pillars of Pakistan team, who are carrying the team on their shoulders. They
Yeah.
came good for the team. But you
Yeah,
can't
makes sense.
have Babar Azam and Rizwan come good for you at all the games. Probably
and
1 in 7,
you need,
like we saw.
and also you need Babar and Rizwan to have that confidence that they go after the bowling, because unless the
Yeah.
pitches that we saw today in Australia
I
versus
mean, we
West
see
Indies are
Kohli go
not.
after the bowling because he knows there is Surya Kumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya, and Dinesh Karthik
Yeah,
to follow him.
exactly. And
But Babar
and
Azam
you
does
see
not
the
have
good,
anyone to sort of, yeah.
and you see the good that it has done to Indian team, right? They're looking like a solid T20 team. Rahul Dravid, I think it was yesterday when he said that after the World Cup in UAE, we sat down, we decided subconsciously this is how we have to play. I mean, not subconsciously, rather consciously, this is how we have to play. We sat down with the openers, we sat down with the players, and see we have to play like this. And I think
Yeah.
to an extent, I feel, maybe I feel
I like the
Pakistan has.
fact also that Virat Kohli is also not taken that one-dimensional approach with this team. It could have easily been Virat Kohli batting at 120 and others batting at 140, 150. That could
Yeah.
have really stopped the momentum of the team. What Virat Kohli has done consciously, as you rightly mentioned, is that he's upped the strike rate to a larger extent. If you look, someone has spoken about Virat Kohli's form. I think Virat Kohli's form has been excellent since the Asia Cup. 10 innings, 404 runs at a strike rate of 145, and
Yeah.
at an average of 50. It's a dream Virat Kohli what we wanted before the World Cup, and that knock in Guwahati would give him a lot more
I think
confidence.
this is the Virat Kohli of 2014 2016 in T20s, at least according to the stats, because scoring at an average of over 50 and a strike rate of close to 140 145 is something that Virat Kohli did consistently in chases for India into 2014, right from 2014 till I think 2018 2019. This is the Virat Kohli we got to see in T20 T20 eyes. And also in
Yeah.
that series against England, where Virat Kohli in the decider decided to come up the batting order and open along with Rohit Sharma, and then they
Mm.
went on to score some 220 odd runs and then
Hmm.
But no,
win the game
I
and the
was
series.
slightly disappointed with Virat Kohli before the Asia Cup, where in a different series against England, where India was in England in July, where
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Virat Kohli was trying to go berserk from ball one, which was so
But
unlike
that is
Virat
not his
Kohli.
game. I mean, whenever
It's
we
not
have
his
seen
But I
game.
Virat
think at
Kohli
that
attack
point in
the
time,
bowlers
Virat
from
Kohli sort
ball
of
one,
wanted to, I think it was Virat Kohli trying to kind of stamp his authority. He wanted to let ballers know that I am Virat and I'm
I
not going to be
thought he
bullied. And
wanted to hit, hit out of form.
I
But
think
there's a saying that
he was trying to, bludgeon his way into form. And that was a phase, right? Even the IPL, I think there was a phase where we saw Virat Kohli just trying to be like, okay, hell with
yeah,
the
to be very
consequences.
honest,
I'm gonna
in
bludgeon my way to
IPL, I
form.
really thought Virat
And
Kohli can never come back into form again because there were a few games where he batted where he looked so unlike a batter. He couldn't connect. He was
he was
not in shape.
finding ways to get out. And I
and I
think
think
Virat Kohli
one
was
thing
like,
about Virat Kohli that I have always loved is the fact that if you consider Virat Kohli in the 2010s, I mean, right, starting from 2011 or so, way till 2019, 2020, Virat Kohli, even if you look at the stats or if anyone comes up with some sort of an analysis, you will see that Virat Kohli will have the least number of beaten like deliveries that beats
hmm,
him,
Yeah.
because
yeah,
he either he leaves the delivery or he plays at it and he connects in a good manner. You don't see too many edges or false strokes when it comes to Virat Kohli in the shorter formats of the game. I think he'll be on par with some of the best, if not the best. I think he has the best sort of balls that he connects properly without any false shots or edges or
hmm.
play and misses. So I think that is something that you used to love in Virat Kohli's game up till 2019, 2020, and then there was that phase where he was a bit uncertain and he used to
Yeah.
poke at deliveries, and you saw Virat Kohli, which we were not acquainted with, who used to sort of start
Yeah.
to try
It's
to
a
hog the
confidence
delivery.
thing, as you
Yeah,
mentioned. When you have the confidence level up, even those bad shots turn into runs. So that's what matters. You are playing those shots with conviction rather than playing half shot, which Virat Kohli was
Yeah.
doing in the initial part of
And I think you're,
2021.
you're more reacting to the ball rather than
Yeah,
trying to force
absolutely.
something out, premeditate anything.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we see now. Virat Kohli he's seeing the ball very clearly, and
Yeah.
you can see that. I think he's enjoying his
It's a
cricket
very
more.
simple
I
game.
felt,
You
and it was
talk a
something
lot
that
about technique and all this. It's see the ball, hit the ball at the end of the day. So if you're seeing the ball
and I think
clearly,
that is why
you are
players
I
like
think
confident.
Virendra
technique
Sehwag
and
was so successful in the game. If
technique
you
is
talk about
always,
Virendra Sehwag's fit movement, I think there was nothing there.
yeah. I
But
mean,
he had
you look at
such good
the,
hand and eye
yeah.
coordination that he used to just play the ball according to its line. Like he used to just predict the line and just go
Yeah.
after the bowling.
Yeah, I mean, technique is just one way to play cricket, right? At the end of the day, it's about results, and technique just increases your probability to do well in a particular situation. That's the reason why coaches focus so much on technique. And a technical batsman, most often than not, is a very good player. But we see players like Dhoni. For instance, Dhoni's cover drive was never good. You would never see Dhoni playing a crisp cover drive. It was always this flick of the wrist cover drive that Dhoni had, and most coaches would not encourage that. But that doesn't mean Dhoni was a bad batsman by any margins, right? And look at Steve Smith, one of the best test batters of our generation, has one of the weirdest techniques. His trigger movement is towards the right side, where he takes two steps and covers the off stump. Most coaches will tell you that you're risking your leg stump and you're risking an outside edge where the bowler can just square you up.
Yeah.
But he's found a way, and he's found a way to adapt to it. But that is
Yeah,
that.
I still think Virat Kohli's technique is one of the best in the world when it comes to
Yeah,
him covering almost everything.
absolutely. But
I mean,
the
there was a
point,
point even on this podcast where we had to really dissect Virat Kohli's technique to find faults because we really did not know what was happening with Virat Kohli, right? During those
yeah,
phase, especially after IPL and right after IPL when he went to England, that's why we really did not know what was happening to Virat Kohli because he was getting out to balls which were pitched slightly short, but then at the same time, he was not able to play on the back foot. A lot of things were happening and going wrong for Virat Kohli. So where we had to really analyze a player who used to score runs for fun in international cricket, all of a sudden is he facing an issue? Has he changed his technique a lot? So that's us overthinking. That's us trying to dissect a lot more. But then
It was
ultimately, it's
also the
all in the
case
mind.
that Virat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it was also the case that Virat Kohli was trying to play a game that he was not very comfortable with, along with the team sort of going through a transition where the Indian team from that sort of keep wickets in hand for the later stages of the game to just go all out attack on the opposition. Like the team was also going through a certain change in approach when Virat Kohli was really struggling to get going, and the number 3 position is a fulcrum in any format of the game. In T20 eyes, okay, you see that the openers will have a better look in, they'll have better chances to score those higher runs. But I think the number 3 position is for your best batsman, and it is the fulcrum of the team in any format. It is definitely in ODIs and test matches, probably number 3 and number 4 in test matches. But even when it comes to T20 internationals, I think number 3 spot is a very important spot. And I think the current scenario with the Pakistan team is that they don't have that number 3 consistent number 3. There is Shan Masood, there is Fakhar Zaman. They are all playing sort of musical chairs along with players like Babar Azam and Rizwan, and then there is a musical chairs where Haider Ali is also sort of
It
looking
makes
to
sense. I mean,
take a
there are a
cake.
lot of issues there, but as SS has also asked us a question as to who's going to be important for Team India to win the World Cup, and he's mentioned the right names: Surya Kumar Yadav, Bhuvneshwar Kumar's form is going to be vital, especially to pick up wickets up
Yeah.
front, and Chahal to control the middle overs, and Hardik to contribute both with the bat and also with the ball. And Surya Kumar Yadav, the X factor, is going to come. So he has mentioned rightly 4 players for India to win the World Cup. And ultimately, if you have to win the World Cup, you need all 11 players to perform in different situations. In the semi-finals, where you might need Akshar Patel and Hardik Pandya to save India home when you are in trouble. Or in a final where you need to defend 20 runs of last 2 overs, you need Arshdeep Singh to bowl a 5-run over to save India and Bhuvneshwar Kumar to close things off. So these things do come
No,
in handy.
I
So
think that is exactly what the Indian team wants right now. It has the Indian team, the mentality has reached such a stage where no longer they feel that one player should win you a game. It should not be Virat Kohli chasing at an average of 100 winning you games all the time.
yeah.
It should be all the 11 players contributing. And that is why I loved yesterday's game. I mean, even though India lost, they lost wickets at the wrong time, but we could see that approach. I mean, Surya Kumar Yadav knew that there was nobody else. He still went ahead with playing that shot and got out eventually. But still, I mean, it was good to see that
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
intent
I
was there.
really don't mind that. I know a lot of people came and spoke about irresponsible batting and this, that.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
really
I
don't
knew this
think.
was going
No,
to
no, I
happen,
mean the
because that's the
irresponsible
kind
batting
of.
was coming in the sense because Dinesh Karthik was hitting the ball so well. He just hit Keshav Maharaj for 2 back-to-back sixes over deep mid wicket,
Yeah,
playing
I would also agree that shot was not needed. The reverse lap.
playing the
I
shots
still
that
think he could
Dinesh
have hit him
Karthik
straight.
does play. You don't see Dinesh Karthik reverse sweep after like when the best.
I mean, it was not the. It was, if it was 17th over, yes, that shot was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
but you still
not
don't
needed,
have
but
to
that's
do
the
to a
reason why
spinner.
I
To be
felt.
very fair,
That's
I've
the
not
reason
seen
why I
Dinesh Karthik
felt.
reverse sweep a spinner. To be very fair.
Yeah, it's
I
not
mean,
something
I
that
don't
he
think it was a
does
reverse
often.
sweep either. It was more like a
No,
reverse
sweep
lap.
is something. See, Dinesh Karthik does not have the orthodox sweep. He sort of does not
Yeah.
completely sort of sit on the delivery.
It's a
He
lap.
just
It's sort of a lap shot, It's like a
it's sort of a
standing dead
hoist
swing.
come sweep.
I think that's the best way to put
But
it.
that was a wrong ball to play that as well because the ball wasn't really
Yeah.
bouncing so much.
It
It
was an
still
arm
was
ball that
on
was
the.
just coming in, and he just missed. I think he just misunderstood
Yeah,
the
he
line.
premeditated. I think he expected it to be an orthodox left arm spin. He premeditated. Keshav Maharaj, being the quality that
No,
he
I
is,
think he got beaten by the
decided
bounce.
to.
He expected the ball to climb a little bit more, but the ball kept
Yeah,
slightly low.
I think Sandipani's got it spot on because it was the arm ball. It skids on a lot faster. It doesn't. It's not the traditional loopy one. It skids on faster, and so that kind of bounce is not usually what you expect. It goes on a lot quicker to the
Yeah,
arm
if
ball.
Dinesh Karthik would have not gotten out, I still think India could have won that game because that ground
Yeah,
was
I
such that.
think both Dinesh Karthik
Still,
and Rishabh Pant,
maybe
even
even if
Rishabh
Deepak Chahar
Pant.
would not have gotten out, I still think India could have won that game because the ground was such, the ground and the dimensions were such that you could
Yeah,
see
but I
clearly.
mean, the way India played, though, I felt like India didn't want India. I mean, I'm not saying India didn't want to win the game. That would be me going too far. But India didn't. I mean, winning the game was not the only agenda. India was trying something
Yeah.
out for the T20 World Cup. It did not work, or maybe it did.
It
I
was
think.
about, as Rahul Dravid mentioned, about giving everybody a chance to bat, and I really don't mind that approach, especially when you give me a lot of
Yeah,
people.
but then I mean, I felt maybe so that's the reason why India were like, okay, fine, it's just gonna go after it. If we get out, someone else will get to bat. So I
See,
think
it was
that's
a very
probably a way.
important game for Rishabh Pant and Shreyas Iyer, and I think both of them Rishabh Pant was getting going because I think 2 players that will be most disappointed with yesterday's game will be Shreyas Iyer and Rishabh Pant, because
Absolutely.
the other players they have sort of cemented their
You know
place
what?
in that
Shreyas
batting
Iyer
lineup.
still has an ODI series to really prove himself. For Rishabh Pant, I don't think there is any more games left in him unless he scores big in those practice games in Australia, which really sparks a debate all of a sudden. But I
But
really
I
don't
think
think
the
that
way
happens.
Dinesh Karthik played yesterday, that door is closed.
It's close,
I
yeah.
really think
And
it's
you know what?
closed because
I really love the fact that India tried him at number 4, not at number 5 or number 6. They send him at
See,
number
I'll,
4.
I'll,
Let's
I'll
go
give you
bat.
another example. See, Rishabh Pant got a century in one of the warm up games leading into that famous tour against Australia where India won 2-1, beating Australia at Gabba. Rishabh Pant scored a century, a quick fire century in the last
Yeah,
warm up matches that they played before the Test series,
yeah, I
and
remember that.
still, even after scoring that century, it was Riddhiman Shah who played the first game. So I
Hmm.
think based on that, I think Indian selectors is going to go
You know
ahead with
what?
Dinesh
That
Karthik
century
for the
also
first game.
sparked a debate that why isn't Rishabh Pant not starting in the 11?
Yeah.
So, and after that, he went on to do well in the tour, and he was the biggest match winner for
Yeah,
India
but
at
but
the
with
World
with
Cup.
the trend that I see the Indian selectors to
yeah,
sort
but then
of
I think
go ahead with.
there we kind of felt it was
But it's a
justified to
different
drop
format. I think we
Riddhiman
should
Saha.
really
Riddhiman Saha,
confuse test with
I think,
No, but I
yeah,
with
think
and
cricket.
my point being that even if you score in the warm up matches, that does not really count when it comes to the selectors, because playing an international side is a different ballgame altogether. Even though a player may be in spectacular form, but they are going to go ahead with whatever they have seen so far.
What is really going to judge in the warm games is the third pacer, especially who's going to come in as Bumrah's
hmm.
replacement.
And they
If that
haven't gotten
person,
15th member yet.
yes,
They
we've not
haven't
yet
declared
gotten
it
the
yet.
15 member. It could be Shami or Deepak Chair at this very point, and I kind of have a feeling or a hunch that it could be Deepak Chair. You know why? He has that batting value, and India are looking slightly at going a batting heavy approach for this World Cup. I
But
know
I mean,
wickets are
and I would have,
important, but
if
Also,
Deepak Chahar had balled
I don't
that
think
over, he
that playing
balled to.
Shami really makes a sense, because you haven't, like, he hasn't got really any game time. If you did not play him after the IPL when he was on red hot form, you can't expect him to come back after an injury, after COVID, to come back in strongly and make an impact. It can happen, obviously,
And
but
I mean,
you are
Deepak Chahar,
expecting too much of him.
I felt, if in the 20th over against David Miller, or rather the 20th over he balled till the third ball, I think it was the second ball, where he got a wicket. And then I think the next ball was a dot, or I think the next ball was a dot. So I think if that over, if it had continued, if he had not balled that full toss, right, that knee high full toss, I think that's what really threw him off. From there, he never recovered. But if that
that's
over had
still
gone
okay.
well for him,
That's still
he
okay.
would have
I
been
think he
really
balled a
closing the doors
match-winning
on
over in the
Mohammad
second
Shami.
T20I, where he came into ball in the 16th over and just gave away 5 runs, and
Yeah,
he had a spell
and
of like
that's the reason
4
why
overs,
even I
24 runs.
felt if that over he had balled a, even if he had balled a 10 run over, he would have closed the gap, or he would have closed the door for Mohammad Shami. I think he would have sealed the spot. But because he gave that 24 runs, if I'm not wrong, is how much he gave away.
Hmm.
If he had not given that much,
Hmm.
then you would have seen him really feature, because then Rohit Sharma would have trusted him because he was
Hmm.
doing really well till that point in time. And you
Yeah.
know what? I'll be honest, he shouldn't be
To
judged on
simply
it.
put it, I don't think that
For me,
I
he
mean, to
shouldn't
be
be
very
judged on
fair,
it
none of the ballers should be
because
judged on that wicket in Indore. It's just awful to be
and
judging any
he
ball.
shouldn't
It's
be
just not
judged on
right.
that particular over because you felt like he was doing well up until that
Yeah.
point he balled that full toss.
Yeah.
Then it was just the fact that any bowler would get flustered.
But you know
It
what?
was
I still
David
will
Miller.
give him
It
credit.
makes sense.
He kind of recovered those runs with the bat, so he kind of
Yeah.
neutralizes it. So that's where you give that edge to Deepak Chahar.
And
Whatever he
also,
gave
I
away, he
think
kind of recovered.
Deepak Chahar and Bhuvneshwar Kumar are two players who should complete at least 3 overs of their quota of 4 overs within the power play itself when they're
Hmm.
bowling in good
But you know
rhythm.
what? SS98 has a good question over here. What will India really gain out of those 3 games? So practice game. India playing 3 or 2 practice games against Western Australia in
Yeah.
Wacker in one of the former fastest wicket. Now the stadium is an Optus, but still the matches are going to be played in Wacker Stadium, is what the old stadium, and still it's not going to be a quick wicket. The pitch is going to be really good for India to really test themselves out on those Australian wickets. I still think it is one of the fastest wickets in Australia
No, I think it's
compared to where you
about
play in
getting
Sydney or
used
anywhere.
to. It's about getting used to the pitch, the
Yeah, getting
pace, the bounce.
acclimatized to wickets.
Rohit Sharma himself said in the post match presentation that it's because many of the people, I mean, players that are going on this tour haven't played much in Australia or haven't played at all in Australia. So they want these players to not, be thrown into the lines then straight away. They want
Yeah.
them to understand how the pitch is behaving. And
And
and Indian players have got the quality that
and it's
once they
good
get
that India
used to
not
the
playing an
pitch,
intra squad match, rather playing a match
Yeah, and
against
you
Indian
need to
players.
play against, you need to play against players who have grown up, who know how to
Yeah,
use
absolutely.
that condition. So,
Yeah.
and it's not just for the batsmen, it's also for the ballers, because the ballers can then understand how players who have grown up on that pitch or on those pitches use those conditions to their advantage. So
Yeah.
that is the reason why these matches are important for India.
Mm. And I won't be surprised, but I really don't see Siraj and Deepak Chahar being part of those practice games because they're going to be in India playing the one day series starting from tomorrow. We've been slightly going deep into that and like talking about it in brief before we move ahead because we have to also cover the Australian West Indies game in brief and also Pakistan series. We'll just take an overview out of what are the biggest takeaways from that series because we've been talking about a lot of topics. We already did start talking about the Pakistan game, but still, I think India might, try someone like Umran Malik, and he has got an outside chance for this World Cup. I have a hunch on that because if he does well in those practice games, and if he's really trying to trouble
He's
batters,
had a decent performance for rest of India as well.
yeah,
The
he's coming
trouble,
off a 3 wicket haul. And also remember,
yeah.
Kuldeep Sen is one of the names also coming out, and he's not yet played for India. He's another wild card entry, but he's in very good form, both in red ball cricket and also in white ball cricket. He's been in very good form. So Kuldeep Sen is another bowler who's traveling with Team India tomorrow to Australia. So if these two bowlers on these three warm games have really good series where they really go on to bowl well in the death and especially to pick up wickets in the middle overs, if they can do that, Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid will be sitting together and be like, why don't we try these two? I know Mohammad Shami and Deepak Chahar are higher on the picking order, but then you can always expect in wild card entry, and that's always been the thing with Team India and Australia.
And
A wild
15th,
card entry can never be ruled out in this situation.
yeah, but it's gonna be interesting. But I suppose then what Sandipani said is right. I feel BCCI and the selectors, they are more comfortable about knowing what their options are, knowing having known quantities. In I have never seen India try something completely outside the, maybe
Yeah,
except for
that's also
maybe
true.
the closest India has come to a surprise decision is when they had Rishabh Pant open for the first time ever. That was the closest I've seen
No, I think the
them
closest we
making
have come
a
to a surprise decision is I have
crazy
Varun
decision.
Chakravarti in the T20 team for the World Cup out of nowhere. That just baffled me. I just couldn't
It
see
was a
this is
good
what
call.
it wasn't a good call. It wasn't. You know
I
what?
think Sadhimani, you need to remove your KKR bias. Check
How
it
many
from,
wickets does he have? I mean, I think he's got one international wicket in five
and
games.
he
I
got.
mean,
I
to
think
be
ever
fair,
since
I
that
mean,
tournament,
he
he just
became a
got.
bit predictable with
Yeah, I think
the
after the
time.
tournament, he just got found out. I think that's where you.
I mean, if you want to try something like that, like what India tried with Varun Chakravarti as an X factor choice, I don't mind India going to
And India
Umran
not
Malik.
work, and Varun Chakravarti not working out is just another reason why I think selectors won't again go for something like
I mean,
that.
no. The reason why I say that is also because I saw Umran Malik bowled in that game against Saurashtra. I know it was a very good wicket on day one. It was a green track and facing Kuldeep Sen, Mukesh Kumar, and Umran Malik was a nightmare for the
And
Saurashtrian players. And remember,
that's actually, when we
Saurashtra
talk
are
about
not the
Mukesh
defending
Kumar.
champions of the Ranji
Mukesh Kumar
Trophy.
is another very interesting name. I think he's
Yeah,
done well. India A, I think he's played for India A as well. He's done
yeah,
well
yeah,
there. So
yeah.
he's someone that's coming out of the Ranji setup, and that's very exciting because we haven't seen a lot of him in the IPL either, and that's something
Yeah.
very new, and
And
that's
he's
gonna,
got a call up for Indian team for the
yeah,
first time. So very
yeah, and
impressive, very good
he.
selection.
I think Saurashtra had no answers. It was just difficult to pick him.
I mean,
They had no
Mukesh Kumar
idea
is
where the ball
still
was going.
your 125, 130,
Yeah,
spin bowler, but
I'm not saying you're gonna play him in Australia. You might play him in England.
I mean,
You might play
maybe,
him in
maybe
New
you never
Zealand.
know. That's a good one. I mean, I like it. But I still like to see Deepak Chahar get his maiden cap in England. I still think it's got a lot to offer for
Yeah,
Team India in
yeah.
ball format. But that's a different debate altogether. But talking about Kuldeep Sen and Umran Malik, whatever I saw of them in that game, I know Saurashtra are not the defending champions, right? They won the Ranji Trophy a couple of seasons ago in 2019-20, where they really won the Ranji Trophy because we did not have Ranji Trophy for a season or two as well. So to make them play after two long seasons now and call them as defending champions against a strong West of India squad was just unfair on them because their leading run scorer was also not there. They had Jaydev Unadkat. Pujara was there, of course, but then on that wicket against Umran Malik and Kuldeep Sen with their tails up, it was tough. I saw one ball which really rattled a batter. Umran Malik ball a bouncer, it hit one of the batter's helmet, and he was shocked. He couldn't really recover out of it. Next ball, he got out because he had no idea that he'll be facing a 150 kilometer. And both the ball
I mean,
145 plus.
just that we're there. I think it was a doing of that pitch, that morning session rather, because I think
Yeah.
after that morning session, the ball didn't do a lot. So Rashtra came back. scored a 380, I think, in the second innings, and then
Yeah.
it just looked like a belter of a pitch. It was just unfortunate they lost the toss. I think if they had won the toss, they are elected to ball, then you would have seen someone like a Jaydev Unadkat and Chetan Sakaria do the same thing to ROI. They could have done it.
Mm.
But it was
Mm.
just unfortunate. They ended up at the wrong end of the toss.
Yeah.
And
I
I think
mean,
those batsmen did not have the quality to bat out of
I mean,
that.
to be very fair, I'll really judge we've been talking about technique, but then technique what they showed against moving ball was
Yeah,
like
yeah, and
tailor's
I felt
batting.
they did not have the technique. But then you also have to consider it's one team against the best team out of the Ranji Trophy, right?
I mean, it
Look
is
at that
not the best
ROI
team. That's the whole
squad.
point, right? So Rashtra are
Yeah.
not the best team in India right now. It should have been Madhya Pradesh, but then they did not
Hmm.
conduct the Rani Trophy for the last 3 seasons, so they
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
conduct it now. It would have been good to see Rajat Patidar and the rest of the company go up against this team. It would have been much more
Yeah.
an even contest, because usually what happens, the Ranji Trophy champions usually go on to win this match against ROI. ROI are the
Yeah,
second
it's
position
most of the
overall.
time the case is that, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's the point. I think it was just one session, and if that one session did not play out, or if somehow they had survived that one session, even if they'd only scored, let's say, 50, 60 odd runs and lost only a wicket or two, I think then you would have seen the match turn differently. But because at first session, they had no answers to to the trio of fast bowlers. I think
Yeah.
from there on, there was no way. You can't recover when you've only scored 98, and then the pitch suddenly after that morning session turns out to be a batting paradise. How do you recover from that? And I saw the first innings for ROI. The ball wasn't doing anything. Regardless of what Chetan Sakaria tried or Jaydev Unadkat tried, everything was just
Mm-hmm.
going to the fence, especially when Sarfaraz Khan came into bat.
I mean, Sarfraz Khan has been in top form. I think we should just give a mention to him. You guys reckon he's on the
I mean,
verge of
after
getting an Indian
43
call up?
innings to be 1 run ahead of Don Bradman just says it all for him.
I
I
mean,
mean,
he's been in some form, man. I mean,
yeah.
stop being a batter.
I mean,
And
in
he's
Really
batting in a
43
strike
focus
of
first
on
class
it.
innings,
100.
he has scored close to 3,000 runs, 2,900 something. And I think he's only behind Vinod Kamble at the moment. I mean, after 43 first class innings, the leading run scorer is Vinod Kamble with 3,100 something runs. And then
Yeah.
there is Sarfaraz
I
with
mean,
29
I
something.
really will have Sarfraz Khan at number 5 than Shreyas Iyer. To be honest, that gives me much more solidity, because Shreyas Iyer against
I
short
mean,
pitch
and
bowling, man, is still an
imagine
issue. Even you
Sarfaraz
saw that
Khan
yesterday.
and I think imagine Sarfaraz Khan
No,
and
I mean
Rishabh Pant
Sarfaraz
combining
Khan
together.
is more suitable in the test format definitely, but
And
still,
of
I
course,
mean,
we are looking for a
no, I
replacement
mean
for
still
Rahane.
Shreyas Iyer has proved himself up to some point, even with the
Oh, I
soft
think
pitch
there we go.
limit.
I think it's a light rider has spoken.
One man is soon going to say Rahul Tripathi should also be batting at number 3 for India and Test. So,
No, no,
oh,
no
sorry,
longer
change
right now.
franchises. So Nitish
Yeah,
Rana
yeah.
will be around.
But I
But
think
yeah,
definitely Mukesh Kumar getting that call up, it's because he has been very consistent for Bengal in Ranji Trophy, and
yeah.
it's not just like this year or the last year. Bengal has been very consistent in the Ranji Trophy, consistent in the fact they reach the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then they choke. So they
Mm.
have a very solid team. I think Shehbaz comes from there as well. There is Manoj Tiwari, there is Riddhiman Saha on good days when he plays for Bengal. But yeah, they have a very solid team, and all these youngsters coming out of Bengal, and I also think that they could try somebody like a Abhimanyu Ishwaran at some
Mm.
point in the test format, because he has been consistently performing in the Ranji Trophy in the domestic circuit.
Mm. I mean, what do you guys think as we're talking about Indian domestic side? Do you think it's still is just injustice on Prithvi Shaw not to get the nod ahead once again? I mean, that boy has been trying everything possible in the world to break open the door. He's such an X factor player, but still gets ignored time and time again. I think he played a great knock of 77 or 48 balls in that third one day, the A series one day against New Zealand A. He was in top form in the Duleep Trophy, but still he just gets
But the thing is,
shut
they
down.
have tried somebody like a Prithvi Shaw for some time, and then they gave the chance
I
to
mean, he's not
Shubman Gill,
failed. The
who
funny part is not failed. He's
no,
just
he
faced
has
one
not
ball.
failed miserably, but I think in the series against New Zealand at New Zealand, when the pitches were good, Mayank Agarwal and Prithvi Shaw were opening for Team India. Team India went on to score 350 60s in almost all the games, and went on to lose 3-0 against New Zealand. And I think Prithvi Shaw really got starts and got out 20s and some
But you know
20s
what?
and some
That's
30s.
just unfair to judge Prithvi Shaw. I think
Yeah, it's
all
very
the
unfair
unfair.
to judge, but whenever Shubman Gill got that chance, I think Shubman Gill and Shikhar Dhawan really clicked, and they have been
Do you
having
think
some
Shubman Gill and
great
Shikhar Dhawan
opening
are going to
partnerships
open
as
for
well.
the series once again, or do you see someone else coming into this? No,
No,
but
I definitely
let's,
feel Shubman
and it's
Gill
a
and
good time for us to shift focus to India South Africa one day series as well. There's a
yeah,
one day
yeah.
series starting from tomorrow, three one-day matches. South Africa are playing with a very strong squad, but at the same time, India, of course, the team is flying out of India tomorrow to
But
Australia, so India have no option other than to
like
fly.
in Indian conditions with Shikhar Dhawan, Shubman Gill having done so well for the team, for the country, playing in yeah, I mean the teams, the oppositions were not really that strong when you talk about West Indies or Zimbabwe, but take nothing away from it. It takes nothing away from Shikhar Dhawan and Shubman Gill because they were batting in difficult conditions where previously some of the other Indian players have found it very difficult to sort of get going. Shikhar Dhawan himself in the 15 or 16 series or 2012 somewhere right after the World Cup or Champions Trophy 2013, right after the Champions Trophy when India toured West Indies, I think Shikhar Dhawan, Rohit Sharma, and all the middle order batsmen as well, they found it really difficult to sort of get going against West Indies in West Indies. And I think the bowling department of West Indies has improved a bit over the last
I'd
few
still
years.
like to see Shikhar Dhawan bat with a lot of intent in one-day cricket. Since his return, especially since 2019 World Cup, he's not yet scored 100. His last 100 has come in 2019 World Cup. He's had a longer drought than Virat Kohli, for example. So that's a
Yeah.
even more concerning thing. So
And I
it's time
think
for Shikhar Dhawan to
that's the
score
reason why
100.
he kind of was thrown out. I mean, not thrown out, but kind of left out of the Indian circuit, selection circuit. KL Rahul was, and exactly at that point in time is when KL Rahul started playing really well, and then he kind of slotted in with Rohit Sharma,
But you
and
know
then
what?
it just
I still don't see anything else. Shikhar Dhawan is going to play the 2023 World Cup. So I still like to see Shikhar Dhawan play with a lot more intent, or
Yeah, but
else
he showed some
yeah, I
intent
think
against
post
West
that,
Indies. I mean, he was scoring
in
at
the
runner ball.
IPL, I think when he started playing with Delhi, I reckon Delhi when he started playing with Delhi, right? That is when he
Yeah, yeah,
started
yeah.
showing that Shikhar Dhawan 2.0 of sorts,
right,
where he was
that's
really
all good.
attacking,
But let's
aggressive.
talk about his innings in recent past in West Indies, in Zimbabwe. It's all been a striker of 70, 80, which is
I
not
mean,
really good.
Shikhar Dhawan is a very slow starter in recent times, which was not the case when he came into international cricket. I think Rohit Sharma used to
Mm,
take a few balls to settle down, and Shikhar Dhawan, they used to
yeah.
sort of understand each other so well when one of the batsmen was finding it difficult to get going, there was
Mm.
somebody from the like Rohit Sharma was on the other end getting going, like he used to get going, and then Shikhar Dhawan like eventually he used to catch up with the strike rate of Rohit Sharma, which
Mm.
I saw in the series against West Indies, because whenever Shikhar Dhawan was really struggling at a strike rate of 50 to 70, somewhere in between 50 to 70, there was Shubman Gill scoring at over 120, 130. So I mean, there was this sort of camaraderie, and at the end of the innings, if Shikhar Dhawan eventually went on to score that half century or play till a time where he got those 70s, 80s, and 90s, he was catching up on the strike rate. He was scoring at
Yeah, I
runner ball,
think
almost
Shikhar
runner
Dhawan
ball.
is kind of a nervous starter, and once he gets to the 30s, that's when you see him start really playing aggressively.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean,
And
I
I
think
think
I'll be
this
honest.
nervous
If
starter side of
Shikhar
Shikhar
Dhawan,
Dhawan has really come into place. I mean, the mindset and all because of him being dropped from the test team. Because yeah, I so I definitely feel that the mindset that Shikhar Dhawan has really it has come to a block. He has become a nervous starter because of him being dropped from the test team. Because
yeah.
I think that really plays
So I
a
think, yeah, I
factor in
think
your
it's
mind.
not
But
just
that
a test
doesn't
team.
mean
The
he
test
should
team, he's
audition
not
for
part
Test
of
cricket in
the.
one day format. I understand his draw from Test team. That doesn't mean he should audition for
No,
in a one
I
day
think it's
format
not
where
just a
India is
test
going to
squad.
play.
I feel
No, no,
it's
I mean he
he's not
finds it
the
very difficult when
he
the
is
ball is
no
swinging early
more
on.
he's no more that player that India. You don't see Shikhar Dhawan play in a series that matters to India anymore, and that I think is playing on his mind. I feel for him it's about scoring enough runs that he can enter that setup once more, and that's the reason why I think he's thinking
But
of
you know
scoring
what? I
runs
also
rather
like
than.
the fact that they've given him this responsibility of captaincy in almost now the third consecutive series. I mean, not second consecutive series, because when KL Rahul had returned, he had to give up the captaincy. But whatever it is, he is looking like a deputy to Rohit Sharma in most of the scenarios. So
I think
he's a very
he's sort of
integral
become
part of this
the
team.
captain for the India
See,
B
he's a
team.
very integral part of the Indian team, but I don't see Shikhar Dhawan going ahead after the 2023 World Cup.
I'll
No
be
matter
honest.
whatever
I
the
feel
No, I
it's
think Shikhar
it's
Dhawan's
not
2023
it's
World Cup is going to be the last tournament for him. I don't see Shikhar Dhawan
2023
taking
World
it.
Cup also. I'll be very honest. I think it's not going to be easy for him to find a place in the 2023 World Cup, for me at least.
Yeah,
I
yeah. At
feel
least for me, I
you
wouldn't
see
really
you look at
have him. Shubman Gill has
you
not
have to
done anything
realize
wrong.
you have KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma,
No,
Shubman Gill,
I don't think KL Rahul opening the batting.
Prithvi Shaw,
KL
all
Rahul is
these.
not opening the batting,
I mean,
and
all
because
of these
KL Rahul,
players, right? All
yeah,
of these players are somewhere. I mean, you never know if tomorrow, let's say, for example, like this series is going to be very critical for Sanju Samson, for instance. And if Sanju Samson really plays well in that role, and I know for a fact that KL Rahul is a lot more comfortable opening the batting, you might see India play on those lines as well, because opening in India is, I think, it's been decades since India struggled to find an opener. India's never had an issue for a long
I mean,
time
I
now, and
still
this
think India doesn't
Indian
have an
team with a
opening
problem of
conundrum.
plenty.
I think India's
I,
one day top three set for the last last 8 or 9
yeah,
years.
and that's the reason why I feel Shikhar Dhawan's going to struggle, and he has to consistently perform, and he has to
Yeah.
grab eyeballs till the 2023 World Cup. It's not easy for a
But you know
player
what? I
who isn't
also love
getting
the
those
fact.
regular chances. See,
Yeah.
right now it's the World Cup years, right? And
Mm.
I think it's not going to be easy for India, especially now when the One Day World Cup is going to approach. India's going to want to play its best team in every match, right? And so you might see Shikhar Dhawan missing out a lot more matches. So it's not easy
but
for someone who's getting those
honestly,
breaks
Jaren,
asked
yeah,
to come out in matches which is not important for India and play there and play
Yeah.
really well. I think it's going to be difficult for him to really make that comeback, because on the
Yeah.
other hand, Shubman Gill is doing really well. So
Mm.
do you now let Shubman Gill down and say, "Okay, we will see you even though you're on a purple patch, because it's Shikhar Dhawan's last World Cup, or
Yeah.
probably we're gonna have you to
yeah.
sit on the bench," because that's not fair to Shubman Gill either.
But you know what? I really think Shubman Gill should open. But yeah, even Gaurav has a good point. उधर लोग ग्रीन को देख रहे हैं, यहाँ हम शिखर धवन से आगे नहीं निकला. But I also think that has to do a lot with Shikhar Dhawan being that formidable
Shikhar Dhawan is
ICC
great.
man.
See, but you have to take into account that Shikhar Dhawan has been very consistent in the ODI format.
Consistency is one factor,
And
but
he's undoubtedly one of
even
the
the
best
50 over
of the
format,
generation.
the evolution of scores from 280 has gone to 340 or now 360. It's become a
Yeah.
norm in one day cricket. So now you have to look at batters who can bat with the intent, and that's why Shubman Gill has batted with a good intent in whatever innings he's played, even
But
those 90, the
honestly,
98.
I don't consider this selection team to be so brave so as to drop Shikhar Dhawan from the team, at least for the 2023 World Cup, because it's not that Shubman Gill is alone who has been getting those runs, because along with Shubman Gill, slowly and steadily Shikhar Dhawan has been piling up some runs as well. If you consider the series against West Indies, he had a 98 in the first innings. He had another half century in the second or third game. If you consider the series against Zimbabwe, the first game he got an unbeaten 84 or 85 along with Shubman Gill, even though strike rate was way less than Shubman Gill, but he still got those runs. So
See, that's
and
the
he has
point.
had,
So whose innings
yeah,
have been more impactful?
no,
Shubman Gill's
definitely
innings have been
Shubman
more
Gill's innings will be
impactful.
more impactful,
Rohit
but
Sharma is not going to be dropped, so of course you need to. I know left-right combination always works as well. When Rohit Sharma comes to bat, Shikhar Dhawan, it always helps Shikhar Dhawan. There's a lot more chemistry in terms of the running
see,
between
we
the
would have
wickets.
understood how like we would have understood if Shikhar Dhawan would have been dropped for the 2023 World Cup, and given what I have at least seen till now, I don't think Shikhar Dhawan is going to be dropped, because you won't give the captaincy of the team to a player whom you intend to drop anytime sooner, because we saw that Dinesh Karthik got to captain the Indian side in one of the games against a county team in England, and we saw how Dinesh Karthik sort of they gave more importance to Dinesh Karthik over Rishabh Pant. Like it started from then itself. There is Hardik Pandya being given the captaincy. There
Yeah.
was Bumrah given the captaincy, and then you also have KL Rahul and
Yeah,
Shikhar
I
Dhawan.
think time will possibly tell us where India are going to be heading right after T20 World Cup. At this point, one day cricket is like an irrelevant format for Team India because of the T20 World Cup almost there, and one day cricket. No, next World Cup is in a year's time. So after the T20 World Cup, India will start preparing for one day cricket, and you will see T20 cricket taking a backseat, one day cricket being the most prominent format. And of course, one day World Cup still holds the key for Team India.
Yeah, I think One Day World Cup somewhere still has a bit more prestige than T20 World Cup, because T20 World Cup was started in 2007. It's 15 years old. I think One Day World Cup goes way back, and there's a lot more
47 years old.
You know what?
Yeah.
At this point, India are desperate for an ICC trophy. Any World Cup, India is just going to take it. And
Yeah, but then
they
you know
would be
that's the thing
dying to
about
take
Indian fans,
this
right?
T20 World Cup,
We
especially after
are
that
not
group
gonna.
stage
I mean,
knockout.
just because India wins T20 World Cup, it's not like we're gonna be like, "Ha, theek hai." I mean, we have won the T20 World Cup. Let's give India 10 more years, 15 more years to win another trophy.
You know
We're
what?
not gonna do
Indian
that.
fans are
Because
going to
we
be
wanna
super
win
agitated
more.
if India miss out on the T20 World Cup. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's been almost much close to a decade
15
since
years.
India won a
It's
World
been
Cup
15
or any
years.
ICC trophy. So
I think
that's definitely
recently
daunting.
enough we had our anniversary, the 15th year anniversary, right? It's pretty recent. It was 1 day, 2 days before.
Yeah, it was on September 24th or something like that. So
Yeah, something like that.
या भाई स्टोइनिस वर्ल्ड कप खेलेगा आई मीन मेरे को लगता नहीं कि स्टोइनिस इस बार स्टोइनिस खेलेगा तो बिल्कुल खेलेगा पर मेरे को लगता नहीं एगर या स्टोइनिस में एक तो मिस आउट करेगा ही करेगा
मेरे को लगता है स्टोइनिस को भी वर्ल्ड कप के पहले जैसे अविश खान को इंजरी हो गया था मेरे को लग रहा है कि स्टोइनिस का भी इंजरी लिस्ट चलेगा
स्टोइनिस वर्ल्ड कप में होगा पर मेरे को लगता नहीं एगर वर्ल्ड कप में खेलेगा क्योंकि स्टोइनिस और एगर दोनों अभी बाहर है और उससे एक बंदा को बिल्कुल वर्ल्ड कप में जगह नहीं मिलेगा उसी वजह से आज एरन फिंच ने चौथे नंबर पे खेला और यही होंगे ऑस्ट्रेलिया का वर्ल्ड कप बैटिंग ऑर्डर जब पहला
आई थिंक हो सकता है कि अगर मार्कस स्टोइनिस इंजर्ड हो तो रिप्लेसमेंट तो सिर्फ है कैमरन ग्रीन एंड कैमरन ग्रीन का अगर रिकॉर्ड देखोगे तो टी20 में बहुत एक्चुअली इंडिया के साथ वो ओपन के तब जाके वो थोड़ा अच्छा खेला है टी20 उससे पहले उसकी बैटिंग रिकॉर्ड्स बहुत ही ज्यादा खराब है अगर आप आई मीन आप बीबीएल के रिकॉर्ड्स देख लो आई थिंक उसकी एवरेज 15 से भी कम है
ये बात भी है
इसलिए उसको वो फ्रीडम मिला इसलिए वो वैसा खेला है अगर वो खेलेगा तो उसको सिर्फ ओपनर की तरह ही खिलाएंगे और शायद इसलिए ही एरन फिच ने वो सैक्रिफाइस
बात है कि कैमरन ग्रीन अभी पर्पल पैच पे चल रहा है ना मेरा तो यही मानना है कि अगर कोई प्लेयर बहुत अच्छा कर रहा है एक फॉर्मेट में और कैमरन ग्रीन एक हार्ड हिटर है वो जब वो टेस्ट क्रिकेट खेलता है तब भी पता चलता है कि वो एक हार्ड हिटर है क्योंकि उसको बॉल मतलब लंबे छक्के मारना आता है उसको So even if he plays in the ODI format or the T20I format, the fact that he is a big hitter, it will remain. It is going to stay. So I think Cameron Green should be given a chance, and I think Australia will try everything in their hands to give him a chance. And I think only for that.
Already seeing, for example, Aaron Finch sacrificing his opening position when he's not been the best of form.
And I think if even if Easton Agar and Marcus Stoinis both of them are fit, I think they are going to come up with an illness like Avish Khan got.
Not illness. I think they'll straight away drop a person on form, considering he's not got enough game time, and it's fair to drop a person on form.
Even if Marcus Stoinis comes back, then the question is, will he be able to ball? And if Marcus Stoinis is not able to ball, and Cameron Green is balled really well again, Virat Kohli struggled, and in form Virat Kohli struggled against Cameron Green on off occasions here and there. KL Rahul, I think he's got that, he's got a lanky fast bowler, not a fast bowler, but he can ball at 130, 132, and he's got that bounce, something which is not seen in a bowler who balls at that pace. And if Marcus Stoinis is not gonna ball and Cameron Green can and open the batting.
See, with Marcus Stoinis, I also feel that Marcus Stoinis is a one-dimensional bowler. I mean, his stock deliveries are slower deliveries, and rarely he goes for those
got
Yorkers.
That wicketing ability, he's got that golden.
But you know what? Cameron Green is still an entrusted bowling commodity compared to Marcus Stoinis, so you still trust on or bank on Cameron Green compared to Marcus Stoinis.
I feel if Marcus Stoinis can, even if he comes back from injury and if he's not bowling fit, that's a term I would say. If he's not bowling fit, they might just go with Cameron Green. They might tell him, they might tell Marcus that you've not had the game time, you've missed out a lot. Even this T20 series against West Indies is missed out.
Yeah.
So if he's coming straight into the exhibition matches. So I think that's where they might be like, since you don't have the game time, we don't want to risk, you not having the game time, the match awareness, or none of match awareness, the match practice, and we might go with Cam Green. I think that might be a choice.
The exact reason why I don't see Mohammad Shami making a comeback to the Indian team. I think
that's same logic.
You know what? Whatever Indian selectors have been, or Indian team management has been hinting, it looks like Mohammad Shami will be the replacement for Bumrah. But we also had a question on Mohammad Siraj. I personally think Mohammad Siraj is not a bad option. Why I say this? Because yesterday you saw he went for a little bit of runs, but he was a
Yeah.
only bowler who could land the Yorkers at 145 Ks, and he was landing those Yorkers with perfection. He was bowling at 145 plus Ks, and he was landing the Yorkers, which you need in those conditions. And you've seen that peak Siraj. When Siraj is in a good form, he lands the Yorkers very good. 2021 IPL was a one of the best examples where Siraj was in top form. The confidence was there, rhythm was there, and he was landing the Yorkers with perfection. And yesterday also you saw it in the 2 overs he balled towards the end. He balled that 18th over, if I'm not wrong, and also 19th over. 19th over,
But
he
one
only
problem
went for
with
a few
Siraj
runs.
has been his consistency. He is not consistent in bowling those Yorkers because
I mean, he
uh,
has been. He was bowling
I
yesterday.
feel for me, I think it's not it's I don't think Siraj is there up the pecking order.
Yeah, that's the
Uh,
only issue what I see.
I
But or
think
else,
if you had maybe two more series before the World Cup, and this is the same situation where Bumrah is injured, then I think the selectors would have been more patient with Siraj. But
but you know
because
what?
if
I also see South African one day seems to be also an audition for
yeah,
Siraj.
I think that is an audition as well, and that's the reason why Deepak Chahar or Siraj or no one, the 15th bowler and the 15th member, hasn't flown with the Indian squad is
So
because
I
they
still
won't
reckon
test these bowlers out.
on 11th, still it's international game is an international game regardless of whatever you
And
say.
This South African team that's playing the ODI is more or less a South African team that will play the T20 as well.
And of course, if you're going to ball in those last 4 overs, whenever you're going to ball, the situations are almost going to be same. The slot overs are going to be there. The batters are going to come after you. You still have to ball at them, defend, go for your defensive lengths, Yorkers, slower balls, and all these things. So it's a good audition for both Siraj and also Deepak Chahar to try out where they will be actually auditioning themselves for that 15-member squad. And I see them announcing that 15th member on October 15th, just before that exhibition match, to see whatever happens. I'm pretty sure Deepak Chahar and Mohammad Siraj are going to travel to Australia, but it is going to be either between Mohammad Siraj, Mohammad Shami, and Deepak Chahar to make it to the 15 member. But there's still an outside chance for Umran Malik because he's an X Factor player.
but
He has a,
I would rather prefer Deepak Chahar when you talk about Deepak Chahar, Mohammad Shami, and Mohammad Siraj, especially because there is a replacement, like not a replacement.
but you know what? If you're
We have,
playing Deepak Chahar, then would you play Bhuvneshwar Kumar in the same squad?
no, that is what I was coming to. I mean, Bhuvneshwar Kumar has not been very good towards the end, and if Rohit Sharma decides that okay, we don't have the team that can just bank on Harshal Patel and Arshdeep Singh to do the job at the death overs, they would rather sort of go with. They might even go with like Deepak Chahar ahead of Bhuvneshwar Kumar if Bhuvneshwar Kumar struggles in some of the games. It's a sure shot thing that Bhuvneshwar Kumar is going to start
Yeah.
against Pakistan. Arshdeep Singh, Harshal Patel, Bhuvneshwar Kumar are going to start against Pakistan if something drastic does not happen. And
And you know what? The good signs of Bhuvneshwar Kumar and also for all the swing ballers are there's enough movement from the deck. From whatever I saw today in
yeah,
that game against West Indies, someone like a Sheldon Cottrell was getting a lot out of the wicket. Someone like a Hazelwood was getting a lot out of the wicket. The ball was swinging in the air, not off the wicket, but in the air. And especially this being the early part of the summer, the conditions still being slightly colder, I think Bhuvneshwar Kumar and someone like Deepak Chahar will have a very good time. And if you can pick up wickets up front, if you're making a team 2 down or 3 down, you really do not need death
And
bowling
I
to be
mean,
very
I
fair.
also feel in big tournaments you don't see 200s, you don't see 210s. And I think the England World Cup is 2019 World Cup. Everyone was saying that this is going to be a World Cup of a lot of runs, 360s are going to be scored, 400s are going to be scored. No one scored that much. Everyone settled for a 300 was probably a very it was cricket 5 years ago
And let's not forget
that we
India
saw the
lost the
19
game
World Cup as
14
well.
240,
And
and the World Cup final was just 241.
yeah, exactly, and that went so close. And this is my point, right? So batsmen tend to try and score a I won't say bare minimum, but rather a defendable target than go for those big runs because they
see,
don't want
also the
to have
problem,
a
not the
collapse.
problem.
And
I
I
mean,
think
the thing with the World Cup is there is a lot of pressure on the team, so the team
so. Yeah,
chasing
I mean
always finds it very
exactly. So my
difficult.
point being, I feel that's the reason where power plays and the power plays are going to be exceptionally important when it comes to this World Cup because if you don't get those early wickets, if you don't get wickets in the power play, I think teams are going to get more and more confident. Every team that is coming into this World Cup, at least the strong favorites are coming with long batting lineups. So if you don't get power play wickets, I feel you'll struggle, and that's where every team will be looking for those early wickets. And as Abel's mentioned, I think he's right. Pitches are going to swing. There's going to be a bit more help for the fast bowlers with the new ball, especially,
Hmm.
and especially with this reinforced Kookaburra. With the extra bit of it's doing a lot more
I
than
also
the
think
previous
let's
Coca-Colas.
also
So
take into account ground dimensions, right? The number of boundaries
yeah,
what you saw in Guwahati and also in Indore is not what you're going to see in Australia, especially in those bigger
and
grounds. Somewhere like Optus, somewhere like Gabba, or even Melbourne, for example, the boundaries are going to be big. So doubles and singles are going to come into play even more.
yeah,
The sixes are going to be fours. So 210s are going to be 180. And 180 is going to be looking like a very good score unless you have a very good batting day. I don't see 210 or 220 being scored on daily
No, but
basis.
I
So
think
I
180 is
think
going to be
I
good.
think we are
180,
going to
170 will be the average scores in this World
yeah.
Cup. That's how it usually plays out in a big tournament. Even, this is something that we see throughout every sport. You don't see a lot of goals, for instance, in FIFA World Cup.
You want to
You
say
don't
what
see
of
a lot
them?
of runs scored in, I don't know much about other sports, but World Cup, FIFA World Cup, for instance, you don't see a lot of goals scored. In cricket World Cups, you don't see a lot of runs scored. What
I
you
mean, I
see
think
is,
What Gaurav has mentioned about 390, it was just one of those. That was the highest scoring game in the entire World
and
Cup.
Things just went.
No,
And
but
I
yeah,
think England
but
also
in
came in
England
the
there were
tournament
pitches.
in
I
that
mean,
match.
Bangladesh chased down 320 odd against West Indies in 42 or 43 overs. So yeah, there were outliers, but in
Yeah,
general,
except
in the
outliers are there, correct.
yeah,
Also, I
but
think England
in
came
the
into that
critical
match not.
situations, both the
I think England
semifinals, I
came to
think.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Say something funny. It's all yours.
Yeah, I mean both the semifinals. I think the India versus New Zealand game. I think 225. India did not manage to like chase down 220 something, and
240.
240, yes, and in the even in the game against Australia versus England, I think less than 500 runs on an aggregate was scored. I mean some 240, 230 was scored in that game as well in the
Yeah,
first
it was
innings,
just 200
and
odd, but
even in the
England chased
finals
it
it was
quite
220 odd.
comfortably. But you know what? I still think, as you all mentioned, it's going to be 175, 180 wicket, but it doesn't mean it's going to be drastic like a 140, 150. That's way too below par for Australian conditions. But today I was a little surprised. But I also think that was a drop in wicket. It's an AFL ground. That's why we saw the pitch behaving a lot different than what
Yeah,
you
I think
saw
Australia
in
is
other
moving
Australian
towards a
wickets.
drop-in wicket
The
system.
Canada wicket is an AFL ground. That's where most of the AFL games are played. So
Yeah,
you saw, unlike Australian wicket, the ball was gripping a lot, turning a lot. So all of a sudden, it was like an Asian condition, and that's where the spinners came into play a lot more. Maxwell and Zampa really controlled, and you couldn't really get off the square against bowlers who were bowling in the middle overs as well. That's why West Indies also were in the game for almost the larger part of the game, and there where they let it go in the last over. But if you talk about Melbourne, if you talk about Optus, if you talk about anywhere else in Australia, I think the wickets are going to be conducive to batting, but at the same time, it's not going to be massively. It's going to be an even contest compared to what you saw in Guwahati or in Indore, where ballers
Yeah,
are going to be in the
but I
game.
still expect teams to get to 200 at least in the group stages, because when like some of the stronger teams are taking on some of the lower ranked teams, especially in the Indian group. I mean, two of the qualifiers will be a bit lower on on paper at least. The merit of the players. I mean, they are almost amateurs and semi professionals who will play for some of the qualifying
But you know what?
teams.
I think qualifiers will give a better idea as to how the wickets are going to really play out,
Yeah,
and
but
we'll
I
also have an
still
idea.
feel with the Australian track, at least I mean 170 to 200 should be the
Yeah,
par
170,
score.
185 is what's going to be par, but anything less than that is not going to be enough. So if you're scoring
Yeah, yeah.
160 or you can't really expect any
And that
ballers
is
to be
why I
doing.
fear for Pakistan.
Yeah, that's where Pakistan are going to be really scary. Pakistan will have their issues, and I think this tri series in New Zealand is going to be so vital for Pakistan. I know it's not the ideal place for Pakistan to test themselves out, but still, compared to what they. So I was just looking at the stats, and whatever I saw, the bounce in Karachi was the lowest for any T20 game which was played out ever. So the bounce in Karachi and Lahore surface was just bad. So can you imagine they were getting bounced on those surfaces? Imagine them going to Optus. Imagine them going to Melbourne and even in New Zealand, for
and also
example,
the
they're going to be
pace,
tested a
right?
lot
The
more.
pace of the pitch. I mean, all the pitches, because of the innovation we were able to see. I think the ball lost around 20-25 kilometers per hour after the bounce. The ballers were trying to ball it. England ballers were balling it. It was England ballers, right? Except for Mark Wood, no one really balls in the excess of 145. Everyone
Yeah.
is 135 to 140 range, and even someone like a Sam Curran, when he was balling bouncers, it was coming at the batsman at around 115, 112 kilometers per hour, and they struggled against that. So I think it's gonna be a sharp test for Pakistan, and the quality of bowling is going to increase a lot more.
Yeah, definitely with Chris Wokes and I mean even Jordan on his good day, on a good day bowling in the death.
I
I
still
think
think, yeah, that's a good one because for England, on the other hand, I will just cover on England as well. England have been very good at adapting to these kind of surfaces, And yesterday you saw a big claim made by Matthew Modds, their head coach, that Ben Stokes should be playing at number 4. Something which we did expect Ben Stokes to be playing at top 4, and Ben Stokes playing at number 4 means that David Malan will be batting at number 3, Harry Brook at 4, and Harry Brook at 5, and Liam Livingston at 6, and Moeen Ali at 7. So they are looking past Sam Curran. At this point, Sam Curran is not part of their World Cup starting 11 for the first game. So it's going to be between Phil Sutton and Alex Hales. And number 3, it's going to be David Malan. Then Stokes 4, 5 Brooks, 6 Liam Livingston, 7 Ali. Then it could be Chris Jordan / Chris Wokes. Then Topley, Wood, and Adil Rashid. So it looks like the bowling lineup. This looks like the ideal 11 for England. What do you all think about this selection from Team England and that call which
Yeah,
they
I
made?
think that the order you mentioned, right? I don't think that order will ever remain the same for any other matches. I think you'll suddenly see Liam Livingston come in when the leg spinner is bowling, or
Yeah.
you'll see Harry Brooks probably being pushed down, pushed up the order. It's gonna be that middle order is gonna change a lot. It's a very flexible team, and those players can play anywhere, and so it's gonna be very difficult to ascertain what England's batting order is going to be. And it seems interesting because I think England this time around, again, they're looking like a batting heavy team. That is not to say their bowling is bad. It is just to say that the batting is much stronger.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be and I love the way they're bowling. I think much more than the batting. The bowling had to adapt.
But they'd be
And
slightly concerned with Adil Rashid's form as well.
yeah,
He was
yeah,
having
I
an
was just
average
coming
of
to
close
that.
to
I think
45
I
in
think
the
with the
recent
exception of Adil Rashid, everyone's had a good series. Adil Rashid is looking out of sorts. He's not looking like he's having answers to ballers. I think he's missing Owen Morgan a lot.
Can they
To be
go
very
on a day
fair.
without Adil Rashid in Australia, where Moeen Ali and Liam Livingstone can do the bulk of the job with spin bowling on a good wicket, maybe on a wicket like Perth? They can maybe, or on a Gabba wicket against
Yeah, but I
Afghanistan.
think I think they will still play Adil Rashid. Because I think Adil Rashid
Because
is
we
a
have
good
seen
player.
a lot of games where Adil Rashid has not actually
And
bowled and still
I
been
don't, I
in
think
in
for
the
me,
team.
Abel, if you give Adil Rashid's role to Liam Livingston, it'll be sort of what happened to Hardik Pandya, right? India kind of went greedy and
You
gave
know what?
Hardik
What I'm
Pandya that
trying to say
overs.
about
And
India is England can play 4 proper pace bowlers with the likes of Vokes,
Yeah.
George, Topley, and Mark Wood. Attack these weaker oppositions. For someone like a Sri Lanka, for someone like Afghanistan, if you're going to go against with these 4 top quality pacers and maybe manage the 6 bowlers job with maybe Stokes, Moeen Ali, and Liam Livingstone, you don't really need the Adil Rashid because
Yeah,
in Gabba,
definitely.
I
I
don't
think
really
that is
see
one of the
Adil
options
Rashid
that
being
they
a
look into because, especially playing in Australia, the spinners will not come into effect that much. Like
And also
the
remember, this is the early part of the season. Unless it's a drop in wicket in one of these grounds, especially MCG, I don't know what kind of wickets are they going to be using. If it's a drop in wicket and if it's a flat wicket, then you might see balls sticking around quite a bit. But also do keep into consideration this is the early part of the summer in Australia. It's not where you travel in Australia in December, November, where the summer has peaked. The wickets are going to be much more
I feel
flatter.
fresh wickets will be used. I don't think drop-in wickets will be used for
Yeah,
some of
whatever.
the early.
The conditions are still going to be colder in Australia. It's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
the
yeah.
early part of summer. The conditions are going to be, especially the night games, it's going to be early 20 degrees, 20 degrees. It's going to be cooler atmosphere where the swing balls are going to come into play. That's where you're going to lose a lot more wickets in Australia than you compare, than you really expect, because BBL starts in December, where it's at the peak of the summer, where the wickets are much more flatter, where you expect conditions favoring the bowler batters a lot more. But this time, October, you had never played cricket in October ever in Australia in the recent past. I don't remember when was the last time you played cricket in October. You already saw that in a game like this today against West Indies. In October, the ball seams around and moves around a lot more in Australia. So which means you can expect the par totals coming down even lower than what we are really expecting at this point.
Yeah, it's a possibility, especially if, especially in the group stage. I said that whatever sort of anomalies will take place, it will take place in the group stage because more often than not in the semifinals and finals, we'll get to see games where somewhere close to 170 to 180 will be the sort of the par
It
score.
depends on where the semifinals are going to be played as well. If it's on a good wicket in a Sydney, you can expect that. But on grounds like Optus, on grounds like Melbourne, with the breeze coming in with the early part in suburbs of
yeah, I
Australia,
think you're playing semi-finals. The two semi-finals are going to be played in Sydney, Adelaide, and the final is in Melbourne.
yeah. So see, Sydney and Adelaide are two best batting wickets in Australia. So that's the best place for high scoring games. So I don't really expect anything less than 180, as Sandeep Wani rightly mentioned, in
Yeah.
semi-finals. But in final, You never know. You saw that in that World Cup final in
It's
2015. They scored with
it's
183.
see, we can expect 170, 180, and we can even get a 130, 140 in the finals because of the pressure. But then it will be a one-sided game more often than not, because the batting team, if they put up some runs on the board, at least 160, something that they have to play with, we see that the games always, like, more often than not, go down to the wire when something is at stake. The Afghanistan team even took Pakistan down to the wire in the Asia Cup, in the last game in the Asia Cup, where Pakistan just barely managed to escape after scoring just 129 or 130. In a pitch, I think where somewhere close to 150, 160 would have been par. So a lot of things plays
That's
into.
why I still think Deepak Chahar and Bhuvneshwar Kumar might not be a bad idea for Team India. If Deepak Chahar and Bhuvneshwar Kumar can ball up front, pick up 3 to 4 wickets in power play, game is done. For most of the teams, that's it. And especially this being early part of the summer in
And
Australia,
it is something,
where
I
you
think
can
it's
attack.
it's something that you've seen teams do. I think Gujarat Titans is one of those teams which employed this kind of strategy in T20s. It worked really well for them. I think it's kind of the reverse of England's batting of sorts, where you throw everything at the batters, you throw your best ballers straight away, and don't worry a lot about the death balling. Not like, I think most teams, they look
And
at
it's also a strategy which England has been using, for example. And
Yeah.
Butler has been advocating this strategy for quite a while. When he was asked before the India series, when he was taking over the captaincy, he was asked, "Aren't you being a little more top heavy in terms of your bowling when you have Chris Wokes, Reece Topley, and Mark Wood? None of these are dead bowlers. These all are top heavy
Mm.
bowlers." But then he was of the opinion that if we're picking up wickets in the
And
power
I
play,
think
you don't really
it's
need to defend from
fair
the
to
death.
an extent, if you're not winning those, I mean, if you don't do really well in the power plays and then in the first 10 overs at least, then you're pretty much it is going to be a uphill task anyway in the next 10 overs to come back, make a comeback. But if you do really well in that first 5, 6 overs, I think that's a very interesting stat, right? The magical number. If you give 3 wickets, if you get those 3 wickets, then I think 77. I think that's a stat. I mean, percentage right now. 77% of the time you win a T20 match,
Hmm.
regardless of it being an international or an IPL match. I
I
think it's
think
an
India
overall
should
T20
slightly
stat.
look away from the death bowling. I think there's a lot of,
Yeah,
over,
I think if you're looking too much at the dead bowling, you're becoming defensive on your own and
yeah.
against an
Death is a
aggressive
defensive strategy. I
batting.
think India should look to attack. It's better to
I
look
think
for
all
attacking
teams
up
should,
front.
and I think it's time you think about aggressive bowling is as much as you do as aggressive batting. It's just gonna
Yeah.
make
What
things
is
more
death
interesting.
bowling?
And
Like many people are thinking death bowling is very crucial, but death bowling is defensive bowling basically, where your
yeah,
Yorker is
yeah,
not Yorker can be an attacking option, but more often than not, it's a defensive bowling. Where you're trying to not let the batters score runs, where you're trying to be defensive on your own way. But if you're trying to look to pick up wickets up front, if you can get a team 2 down or 3 down in the power play, then the team is going to have a tougher task to actually get to the let overs, maybe
yeah.
even to set a score. Then they're going to definitely fall short. Then you have a Yuzvendra Chahal and Hardik Pandya to come in the middle
Yeah, I
overs,
mean, and you
needed
saw that in
to
the India
put
series as
breaks.
well. The moment you got wickets, you can cripple a batting lineup like South Africa, and you can cripple a batting lineup like India. I mean, you saw South Africa which was able to chase, score 221, chasing a 235, or score. I think it
Yeah.
was what 220 something again odd in the third ODI was couldn't score more than 115 or two. I mean, couldn't score 120 when you got there
Mm.
5 wickets so early. Or India couldn't score about 200 when you got those 5, 6 wickets early. I mean, not
Mm.
early, but at least throughout you finished the team up. By the time 12th over came, India was batting at 10 runs per over, but India had already lost the match by 12th over, 13th over. So I think that's the
I mean,
way
you
to go. At
need
least I think in the
partnerships to
future
get
you'll see
going. I
that.
mean, once the batsman gets set, like they
Yeah,
get
exactly.
going. Yeah.
And it's about getting rid of the batsman as quickly as possible. And sometimes I think you throw, especially
Yeah.
if you don't have dead bowlers, which many of the teams don't have going into the World Cup. I think Australia don't have a dead bowler. I think Mitchell Stark, who used to that role for them, is been going for some runs for some time. India doesn't have
Maybe
a
except Pakistan, even Pakistan, Harris Rauf is a good death ball alongside
yeah,
Shaheen
I think
Afridi.
except for yeah, but then you don't see a death bowling pair there also. I think Harris Roth is the only one who's doing that. For them, I think on the other hand, they're leaking runs. So India is not having
Because why
Hashim
I
Patel is
call
not
them
been
a
able
death
to do
bowling
that.
pair is even for Lahore Qalandars, they did exceedingly well, helping them to win the title. These
Yeah.
both. So there is a
So
good
I
chemistry
think I
between
think
Shaheen and Harris Rauf.
you might see teams do that. At least I feel teams should do it. I mean,
Yeah.
Afghanistan, for instance, does it. I think to an extent where they try and throw everything straight away. I mean, as much as they can. I'm not saying they can do it
Because
to
I
the
mean,
extent of.
Afghanistan has ended on the wrong side of things for quite some time now, where the fifth
Yeah, I
bowling
think they
option
are
or the
at that
fourth bowling option
stage.
have
I'll
harmed.
give an example of Chennai Super Kings, right? Chennai Super Kings never had a death bowler. Maybe you can say
Yeah,
Bravo was a death bowler, but still he's not there and thereabouts. So he's more like a Harshal Patel who has a slower ball, who could
I
ball Yorker,
mean,
but not still there. But
okay. Here's where my Chennai bias comes. Right, he is the most. He's the highest wicket taker ever. So you
yeah,
can't
but
put
let,
him.
let's say, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that
No,
in
no,
terms
but
of
I still
ability when it
feel
comes
that
to
Chennai
pace,
Super Kings really had a death bowler because they used
I think
somebody like
Chennai
a
Super
Shardul
Kings death
Thakur.
bowler was MS Dhoni. To be very frank, except for Dwayne Bravo, MS Dhoni was their death bowler. You had Mohit Sharma. You had Ishwar. I think it was Ishwar Pandey. I'm
Pandey.
not wrong.
Yeah.
Ishwar Pandey.
Yeah,
You
Pandey, yeah.
had. He's made someone like who's recent South African bowler. Dwayne Pretorius being their death bowler.
But you're
Which
saying
other
Dwayne Patel is
team?
a decent death bowler. But
Yeah,
if I
but
have to talk to
how?
Chennai Super
He
Kings
was
in
never
depth,
a death bowler before he played
see,
for
Chennai
CSK.
Super Kings won tournaments attacking from the front, where they
Yeah,
picked
and
up
my
wickets,
point
three
being,
wickets
right,
up
and
front, and
I think Hilfenos and Bollinger was there. He would get those ballers, and Dhoni's always loved ballers who can swing up front. He loves those ballers
Mukesh
who can
Chaudhary
swing
is
up front.
one of the examples.
Mukesh Chaudhary again. I think Dhoni's
Deepak
strike was
Chahar.
relentlessly in the death bowling position. It did
Yeah.
not matter if he went for 20. So I think Chennai's death bowler is Dhoni to a very good extent because he
So
whispers what to put
Chennai
in
has
nets.
had issues up front, but they still went on to win 4 championships. So I think death bowling is needed in T20 cricket in situations, but I also think it's overrated trade. If you
No,
look at
I think
India's matches, wherever
if
they've
you finish
lost,
off teams up
see,
front,
India
then
have
you don't
lost
need death
games
bowling.
because of the inability to pick up wickets in the power play. If you look at that Pakistan game in Asia Cup, Sri Lanka game in Asia
Yeah,
Cup, they
yeah.
all had partnerships which went for a good amount of time. Rizwan had scored at 80. Then you saw Kushal Mendes taking on Indian bowlers. So if you never have those partnerships, if you had them three down in the power play, you didn't actually need death overs there. So that's where India have to be more proactive, and I think that's where Deepak Chahar is going to get the nod ahead of
And
any
I
of these
think
bowlers.
I feel it's time India tried that out. I think India, out
And
of
I think
all
Arshdeep
teams,
Singh in the series against South Africa has picked up 5 wickets in the
Yeah,
first over itself
yeah.
in
So
two
that's
matches.
another option there. That's another option there, and I think that's not a bad option.
And we
You
were
have
very
two.
critical about Arshdeep Singh bowling in the power plays,
no,
and
but I feel
So what has happened is he's gone to NCA, worked on his new ball bowling, and forgot his death bowling.
not actually forgot his death bowling, because to be fair
I
to
mean,
him as well, all the bowlers
I
were
think there are
finding it
some
very
injury
difficult
concerns with
to
Arshdeep
grip the
Singh.
ball.
If you remember the second T20, he was not getting his run up. He was not looking in rhythm compared to the first T20. So there's an injury concern. Even Rohit Sharma did admit that he's suffering a back issue, which you don't want to hear in Indian cricket at this
no.
point. A back issue is the last word you want to listen to. So he's suffering some bit of a back issue, which they say is not
Maybe,
an
but
issue.
maybe it could be fatigue. Maybe that
Yeah.
rest.
Yeah,
You know
because
what?
Arshdeep Singh has
Because
I mean,
played
I know.
almost all the games.
you know what? People should stop going to NCA. Whenever a player comes from NCA, he gets injured more sooner than not. Bumrah came from NCA, he got injured. Arshdeep Singh was sent to NCA. Until then, he was looking very good. So I think teams should, and I really want to know what's really happening in NCA at this point, because Indian players are getting more injured after going to NCA than being with Team India.
I mean,
So
Rahul Tewatia and Varun Chakravarti's career ended while, like, when they went to NCA.
Bhubaneswar Kumar is the
It
biggest
ended before it
example.
started.
Yeah, Bhubaneswar Kumar used to be in NCF for almost 70% of the time, and he used to come back to Team India, get injured again. So what is really happening in NCA? I know it's the most elite high performance center in India, where you're gonna have your best trainers, best coaches, conditioning, every single thing. But then why are players getting injured time and time? And Vridhiman Saha, for example, there was a phase in which every time he used to go to NCA, he used to come back and get injured again. So there are a lot of things which are not going right in
I
NCA at this
think
point.
I think maybe it's like once you leave the NCA, you never leave. I think you never leave the NCA. It's like one of those places where you enter, you can't leave anymore.
I was listening to Ajay Jadeja the other day. Why are players being sent to NCA? Why can't you have these coaches traveling with Team India, for example? You have best of facilities, best of conditioning wherever you go in the world. You're supposedly the richest cricketing board in the world. You have the
Yeah, but I
best.
think I think I think it's more to do with the facilities. I think the best conditioning coaches are traveling with India, but I think the kind of condition, what the kind of facilities they've arranged in NCA, I think you need specialists to take care of those things, and I feel that's probably
Yeah,
the
some
reason
sort
why.
of training, some sort of
Yeah, I
rehabilitation.
think
And
I think the
That's,
specialists are.
that's definitely not working for the players now. That kind of training needs to be stopped. Whatever is happening in NCA needs to be questioned, because whoever has been going to NCA has been getting some issues. Whoever it has been. Let it be when KL Rahul, he spent time in NCA, he got sports hernia. After that, he had to be getting a surgery. So I don't know what's happening in NCA. I think players should stop going to NCA. I know it's a big call, but maybe look at what
Yeah, I
is
mean,
really
NCA
happening.
is right here in Bangalore. Able, let's do this thing. Let's have a Boomer 11 sting operation.
I,
Like what Rahul Rawat
I
would
would
do,
like
yeah.
to sort of drop myself from that investigation
I think
itself. Yeah, I
Sanjivali is
want to
joining
have
us
a.
in Bangalore soon. So let's wait for him to arrive and.
Yeah, before
I'll
we
not
end
be a
the live,
part
let's
of that.
take. I wanted to actually address this question longer, but I did not take it. Rahul Rawat had again reported. Second T20 was the last time we saw Rohit, Virat, and KL play together in a bilateral. What do you have to
Quite
say about
possible, you know.
this? You
I
think
mean,
so?
does he have a point? I think he has. I mean, when was the
Because
last
see,
time?
right after the T20 World Cup, no matter
But
what the
but
outcome is, most
I
of the
mean,
senior players is going to take a break from
for me,
international cricket.
for me, if India, my question is this, right? If India goes on to win the T20 World Cup and India does really well, Indian team players, I mean, if you look at maybe this is just an argument, I'm just playing the devil's advocate, and it's something we have criticized ourselves, the fact that so much rest is given to players and so many times they're shifted in and out. And but what if India goes on to win the T20 World Cup and teams like Pakistan don't do well because they've been playing their players consistently for quite some time. And the fatigue sets in, and Indian players are the only ones who look fresh enough. I think,
Hmm.
except for maybe
Because they come
India,
from
was the
NCA.
only.
You
Huh?
know,
Because they come from NCA.
no, even if that happens, if India
But if
wins the World Cup,
should
immediately you'll
we
see
then?
immediately you'll see in the next bilateral series, all the senior players will take a rest.
Of course,
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
India traveling New Zealand right after that, and I
Yeah, yeah,
expect
yeah.
this India A
no,
team
I
to
mean,
play there.
this is probably the only way you can meet. I'm not saying this is the right way, and maybe
But
some
you know
places
what?
maybe India
At
does overdo
times,
it, but
at
to kind
times
of.
it's not a good thing as well. You remember
Yeah, I
after
mean, I
2011
feel
World
India
Cup?
overdo it to an extent,
Yeah,
but
remember after 2011
the
World Cup when?
strategy, right? I'm not talking about
Yeah,
how much. I'm not talking about the frequency of the rest, but I'm looking at just a strategy, and I think just the strategy is sound. To a large extent, it is sound because the players are playing a lot of cricket. But
I
I
really,
feel
I
India
do
does
see
overdo it.
Rohit and Virat and all playing together in a T20 bilateral for next at least a year, unless they decide to play in 2024 T20 World Cup together, which
See,
also I see don't see
if all the
happening.
three players that up like Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and KL Rahul, if they continue to sort of play like they played in the bilateral series heading up to the World Cup, if they continue to play like that, I expect these three players
No,
to
why I say
again
this,
play.
Sanjamani, is because now these people have not played one day cricket much. Now what's going to happen
Yeah.
is they're going to give more importance to one day cricket, and T20
No, no,
cricket is going
definitely.
to
I
come
mean,
back.
they are going to come back as a team right after the 2023 World Cup because you have another T20 World Cup in
Yes, they do.
2024.
But now what? Now, because T20 World Cup was the important format at this point, you saw these players choosing T20 over one day cricket. Now, what's going to
Yeah.
happen is T20 will take a backseat. One day cricket will be given the
Yeah,
prominence.
definitely. I don't see all these players playing, at least not for the next year. I don't think see them playing right before the start of, I mean, mid of, after the IPL, after
Well, you never know.
2024
For
IPL, I
example,
can see these three players playing for
for
Team India
example,
together.
this could possibly be the last time you saw these three play together in a bilateral because
Definitely,
you know,
it's a
we
very
don't
valid
know. There
point.
could be a retirement here. One player trying to say that I'm not going to take part in this format anymore. 2024 World Cup is still a far fetched dream for a lot of things. It's going to be playing in West Indies. A lot of young crop of players already knocking the door. You might see a generational change in Team India. You might see completely new faces take the field in 2024 World Cup, regardless of what the result is. Even if India goes on to win the T20 World Cup, even if India goes on to lose the T20 World Cup, it's even more evident to see a complete change. But whatever is going to be a result, I'm expecting a completely new team, which and it should be the way. I know it's a big call, but I think it should be the way. India should look ahead in that format for new players. And I see someone like I am expecting some big changes, new opening combination, new middle order, and look at the goal to be 2024. Maybe even new captain in T20 format. So that's not a bad idea at all. So
Yeah,
that's
I
where
think
India
the
should
core
look
of
ahead.
the T20 World Cup team is going to look like what I think it was SS98 who had said. The four players who are going to be important. Maybe barring Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I think that those three individuals are going to be the core of the Indian T20 team. I think Bumrah also probably Bumrah I think will fit in there. I think
Yeah.
those four players are going to be the core of Indian team. One batsman, one all-rounder in
Mhm.
Hardik Pandya, and one spinner in Yuzvendra Chahal, and one fast bowler in Bumrah. I think those
Mhm.
four are going to be the core of Indian batting. From there, I think things are going to change. Virat, Rohit, you might see them, play less and less T20s as you go.
I
I
think
think,
Virat Kohli is going to give up on T20
yeah,
after
I think, I think
the World Cup.
T20s is a way. I've seen this trend in international cricket where T20 is the way you introduce now. Before, I think it used to be tests of sort, or not tests, rather one days where you would introduce a new player to the setup. Now I think it's T20 where you introduce new players who are and give them the first taste of
Mhm.
international cricket, and then you build on from there. So I think India is going to start doing that, and I think Virat, Rohit, they're going to play less and less, less and less
Yeah.
T20s
So I
and more
totally
one
agree
days
with
and
Rahul
tests.
Dravid there. You never know. Rohit and Virat might not even be featuring in 2024. You might see Hardik Pandya captaining a Team India. I really don't
Yeah.
want to see KL Rahul captaining Team India, but yeah. Uh,
But
but
like just to end it, like Rahul
Yeah,
Rawat
I
OP
think
again because
there
he
who is going to be the
might have
test captain,
like
right?
predicted the right
I
thing.
think you're going to see this new like how you had Virat and Rohit rivalry of sorts in terms of captaincy in the IPL. I think this new age rivalry is going to form between KL and Hardik Pandya.
Hardik, the
I
best
think
friends
those
from
are the two
Coffee Whisperer, no?
contenders for T20 World Cup. And I think depending on how they do in IPL now, and I know Hardik Pandya had a head start,
Mm,
that is
yeah.
going to decide who the next
It's
Indian
funny how a
Indian
coffee
captains
can
will be.
really make them a Indian T20 team captaincy contenders in like 3 years' time. So, guys, drink a coffee, not
I
sponsored
think
again.
coffee kind of pushed them
Drink the
back.
right coffee, not
Coffee
exactly.
pushed them back to a large extent. I think you would have seen Hardik or KL become Indian captains a little further if they
Wow.
hadn't had that
We
coffee
already
together.
have T20
Oh,
11. Wow. This is, yeah,
I think he's
this
got it fairly
possibly this
right.
wonderful 11. I mean, I will take this
Uh,
11 to win this T20 World Cup. I don't say
I think
Kuldeep Sen.
Kuldeep Sen. There could be many
I
ways
don't
to
see
say
Umran
this, but
Malik too.
Kuldeep Sen.
I think
No,
it
I
is
see
going to
Umran
be.
Malik. I see Umran Malik playing.
No, I
Definitely,
think
I
he's
see
got it
Umran Malik.
fairly right. I think the only one place I think Kuldeep Sen you might see a few takers. I think Chetan Sakaria. I know he's not had a long season with Delhi. Delhi might
I
No,
see
no,
shift
Arshdeep
him
Singh
I
in
off.
place
think
of
I
Umran
think
Malik.
Bumrah will be
Um,
fitting there. Even there, Bumrah will be there.
yeah,
Yeah,
Bumrah will be
also
And
there.
Arshdeep Singh.
Yeah, actually, yeah, correct. Bumrah is still
Arshdeep
not
Singh will
done.
be there. Arshdeep Singh, Bumrah, and maybe Chahal will be there instead of Bishnoi. So other than that, everything
Yeah,
looks good.
I
I
think
mean,
you know what. Even
batting,
Kuldeep Yadav,
this
right?
could
I don't think
possibly
he's
be the
far
batting.
off. I think Kuldeep Yadav isn't far off either. He's done
Yeah,
pretty well
Kuldeep
in the
Yadav is also
IPL.
there. So
And
this is a very good 11 to be very fair.
yeah,
Shaw and Pant opening with Sky and Samson and Hardik at 5.
I
Wow.
feel the way Pant batted, he's kind
I
of
still think
shifting to
Huda has
that
been treated
Cameron
badly
Green
even in that
style
lineup.
of batting. I think you might see Pant only being an opener and do well. I think he's struggling in the middle orders. You push him up the power play, just ask him to do what Cameron Green does for Australia.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yesterday I thought the 27 what he scored, he looked good. He looked much
Yeah,
confident than
yeah.
him
See,
coming at number
to
4.
be fair, I also see KL Rahul being a part of of the setup in
I, I
2024.
have a feeling KL Rahul is going to have the C next to him. So I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
even
yeah,
going
yeah.
to.
I hope not. I don't rate
I
him
really
highly as a
hope
captain. I
not.
think
To be very
I've
frank,
seen KL
I
Rahul
love the
learn on
player
the
he is, but
job.
I really don't. I judge his captaincy
Uh,
credentials.
I think KL Rahul is learning on the job to a very good extent. He's doing from what he started as a captain. He's a lot better now, and he's getting better. But Hardik Pandya for me is a natural captain. I feel he's got that swagger and that aura about him.
And he's very good. A
And
player who
the
has redeemed
19th
David
over,
Miller's career,
you
we know there's something
imagine
about him.
yeah, I mean, you imagine Hardik Pandya in the 19th over with a young, let's say, I mean, let's for hypothetical sake, let's say Shah Rukh Khan playing his first ever T20, and let's say Hardik
Hmm.
Pandya and Shah
Shah
Rukh
Rukh
Khan are
Khan.
hypothetical to the max. And imagine that is what's happening because he's the only young finisher I see right now. And I mean, and he's a long way out. And hypothetically speaking, in the 19th over, it's these two batting, and they have, let's say, a 15 runs to chase. I think Hardik Pandya is standing there and saying is enough to feel confidence in any young player. And I think that characteristic in him is why I feel he's a natural leader. And because once this Indian team is in a transition. I know we're not seeing it right now, but they are in a transition. Soon you will see once Virat and Rohit leave, the transition period will set in. You need a leader like Hardik Pandya because you saw what MS Dhoni did when
Hmm.
his team was in transition. You saw what a Saurav Ganguly did. It is players who have got that characteristic, who's got that. Who you need a player for whom players are ready to die for. They're like, it's an MS Dhoni. I want to do well. I want to see MS Dhoni praise me, or a Virat Kohli praise me, or a Saurav Ganguly. मैं ये चीज उसके लिए कर रहा हूँ, because that's what players from Saurav Ganguly's team say. Even now, you see Yuvraj Singh say that. You see Harbhajan Singh say that. I
There's
think
something
you
about it,
see,
you know.
I don't. MS Dhoni has not had that kind of impact in Indian cricket team, because he relatively had still seniors hanging around. But you see
See, the
him,
thing
you
why
see players like
Saurav
Kuldeep Yadav
Ganguly
say
is
that.
so
You see
commendable is
players like,
because India was coming out of all those sort of cheating scandals with
yeah,
match fixing, spot fixing, the captain being on the
And
radar under the
yeah,
scanner, Sachin
and
Tendulkar declining the captaincy. So India
even
See,
was
even
in
MS
all
Saurav
Dhoni,
sorts of
right?
Ganguly's
misery.
era
MS
was
Dhoni
so
got a
much
team.
different.
You look at MS Dhoni, right? MS Dhoni's team got a team which did terribly bad in 2007. There was a captaincy crisis. Saurav Ganguly was in and out of the team. Indian captain and the coach had
He
fought,
had
and from
see
there, I'm
even
not
when
saying what
MS
he did
Dhoni
was.
came in, a lot of people
See,
say
I'll
that
tell you
Sachin
one thing,
Tendulkar,
right?
Rahul
There's been a
Dravid,
crisis with every captain. Let me be
yeah,
honest. When
Yeah,
Saurav Ganguly took over, there was a cheating
yeah,
scandal.
but I think
When
for
Dhoni took
me,
over, there was a
Virat
coach
Kohli's
and captain
captaincy reign
scandal.
was a lot
When
easier.
Virat Kohli took over, there was a test issue where India were number
Test
7 in
issue
test.
was the one issue where
When
India
when
struggled. Yeah.
Rohit Sharma
But
took over,
I
India
mean,
are struggling in T20 format. So
you
there
look
has
at it. I think
always been
Saurav
an issue
Ganguly
of
had the
crisis.
toughest. Saurav Ganguly definitely had the toughest job, because
yeah,
he
definitely.
pretty much had no one, right? It was Saurav Ganguly and a
And
bunch of
also when you
youngsters.
talk about MS Dhoni's captaincy,
Dhoni, I
I
think
feel
Dhoni
some of
had
the
a lot
senior
of.
players played on. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
completely
Dhoni, when
agree.
he inherited the team, Dhoni had a team where seniors were sort of butting heads of sorts. There was a lot of, you needed a captain who was silent, who would, get people going together. Saurav Ganguly, you needed someone to push the team. Virat Kohli, you needed a team which was, I think Virat Kohli pretty much had much easier job, because there was someone like a Dhoni still in the dressing room. Because there was a captaincy figure in
Yeah.
the dressing room,
I
the
think for
transition was
Virat
easier.
Kohli, the job was test format, not the one-day format.
Yeah,
Virat Kohli
yeah.
as a one-day captain or a white ball captain, you won't remember him. Virat Kohli will go down the history books as the most successful test
I
captain.
think he was the
That's why you won't
best.
remember us.
I'm gonna
So he
go out
was the
and say this. He
greatest
was the
ever
best
captain in
test
Indian test
captain
format.
we ever had.
Because he
I'm
had
gonna
to
go
make
out
it.
and say that.
He had to make changes in terms of
Yeah,
system, fitness,
and
fast
he made
bowlers.
us a force. He made us a force that pushed England to the brink, South Africa to the brink, who brought Australia to its
I think
knees.
I still think Virat Kohli has won the series in England 2-1 rather than saying that
I
Virat
think
Kohli
Virat
could
Kohli has
not
won
win.
the series in Australia
Mm.
as well.
And
Rahan
also
is
when
an
you
astute
talk about the
captain, but he was
transition
that.
that took place under Dhoni's wing, it took place somewhere in between 2012 2013 when Rahul Dravid I think hung up his boots in 2011, and then Sachin
Yeah.
Tendulkar played on till 2012 2013. And then we saw Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan open the innings, but till 2012 2013 Dhoni
Yeah.
had already been in international cricket for 8 to 9 years. I mean, it's considerable amount of time, and he was the captain of the side for close to 4 5 years. So he had time to see senior players support him, and then he had that
Yeah, and I
he
think
had
for
enough
him,
support
yeah,
and
for him
yeah,
it was more of a task of getting the team back on track rather
yeah,
than. But for Saurav Ganguly, it was more of building a team, and and Dhoni. I think it's right. Many people say that Dhoni profited from what Saurav Ganguly built, and I
Yeah.
agree to a large extent, especially 2011 World Cup. He did. 2013 Champions Trophy, and 2007 World Cup was his. I think no one can take that away from him, because
yeah,
Yeah.
2013, the team
Yeah.
that won the Champions Trophy, was a team that he built on his own. 2007, obviously, again, it was a team
See,
where he kind of.
2011 was a team which he had to manage. I mean,
Yeah,
most of the
2007
players
was a
had
team that
already
I
played
think
a
was
World
built
Cup
by
final in
Saurav Ganguly.
2003. Yeah, you could see those teams. That team
Yeah,
had
I mean,
already
all
played a
the
World Cup
players,
final in
almost all
2003.
the players were more experienced than Dhoni
yeah,
in
Zahir,
2011 World Cup.
Harbhajan, Virendra Sehwag, Yuvraj,
Zahir
all these
Khan, you
players
had
were.
Harbhajan,
And
you had
the
Sehwag.
remnants, or the start of Dhoni's team was there in 11. Virat, Ashwin, Jadeja. No, not Jadeja, rather. Jadeja was later on. But,
Yeah.
those players were there. Rohit obviously was dropped, which is a very difficult career, life period for him. But,
Piyush
these
Chawla ahead
players,
of Rohit Sharma. I think
it's
that
difficult
No,
to
no,
that
think,
it
was
because
the
wasn't
once
only
upon a
Piyush
reason
time,
why.
Chawla.
Rohit and
It was
Virat were
Yuvraj
the
Singh ahead of Rohit
options.
Sharma.
I think it was
No, no,
Rohit
no.
and
Piyush
Virat.
Chawla was
No,
selected
no,
as
no.
the.
It was not Virat. Virat was always there. Virat was never a question. It was Rohit
No,
Sharma
no,
and
no. It was.
Yuvraj Singh
I
because
think Piyush Chawla because
Oh,
there
I
was
think it was
lot.
Suresh Raina. It was Suresh Raina and Rohit Sharma.
no. It was
Sure.
Yuvraj Singh because the question was Yuvraj Singh was out of form, and the biggest everybody had a backlash at Chris Srikanth because Srikanth was the chairman of the selection committee at this time, And when Srikanth selected, the question was why not Rohit Sharma? Because Rohit Sharma hadn't done anything much wrong, but at the same time he had not given those hundreds and double hundreds what we were talking
But
about.
at
Because
the
he
end
never
of the
had a
day, I think
hundred
a
at
lot
that
of
time.
players have come up with the interviews, and I think
So
a
that's
lot of
when
the question was
Yuvraj
on.
Singh had a conversation with Tendulkar. It's still there is there in the book of Yuvraj Singh, where Tendulkar went to him in Dhaka and told, "You will need, yeah, we will need you when the team needs you the most, and
Yeah,
you'll have to come and perform." And that's what happened. So there was a lot of
but then
backlash on
again, he's the
Yuvraj
god
Singh's
of cricket, right?
selection. He got wickets, he got runs, and he was a man of the tournament. So those things really matter because with Yuvraj Singh, he was a man for the big tournaments. Same like what we talk about Shikhar Dhawan as well. He's a man for big occasions. He always goes on to do
Also,
well.
I
The
think
last,
Dhoni did not want anyone else to have all the three trophies along with him. So if
Mm,
Rohit Sharma would have won the 2011 World Cup, it would have been Rohit Sharma and Dhoni who would have been common in all the three
interesting
tournaments.
actually. Can we talk about any bowler who was there with him? No, actually there was no
No, no, no,
player.
no. It's just Dhoni who has
No,
won
I think
all the three
Ashwin was there,
tournaments.
right?
No,
No,
Ashwin
no,
was
no.
not there in
Ashwin was not there in the
2007.
2007 T20 World Cup.
Yeah,
Correct.
2007.
Correct.
Rohit
So it
Sharma
was,
was there. Dinesh Karthik was there in
yeah.
2007 and 13, but was not there in the
Yeah,
2011 World
so
Cup.
it's actually funny. Yuvraj Singh was not there in 2013, correct?
But
Irfan
Rohit
Pathan was
Sharma
there
was
in
there in 2007 as well.
2007 and 2013, but was not there for 2011. Interesting.
I think 2013, by the time 2013 came, many of
You know
Dhoni's
what?
Also,
bad.
Funny
Suresh
part
Raina
is
was
there are a
not there
lot
in
of
the
players
2007 T20
who was
World
there in
Cup.
2007, played part in 2013, but was not there in 2011. So 2011 was a different squad altogether.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
bet if
2013 was a time when the 2011 squad had, sort of lost their
to be
relevance.
very frank, 2011 squad was not the best of squads if you look in terms of a lot of
Yeah,
things.
it was not even
It
the
was a
best
team
team in
which
that
just
World
won the
Cup.
World Cup.
He was not the best team in the World Cup. But you know what went well for India was two, right? One, it was Dhoni's astuteness. Because I think there's one thing about Dhoni. If you give Dhoni specialist players, I think Dhoni struggles. If that's something that it makes sense. I think Dhoni likes utility players. Players he can use where he wants. Someone like a Deepak Chahar. He can use him to bat anywhere. He can use him in the depth. He can use him in the middle overs. You can use him in the power play.
Sam
Players
Curran.
like Ashwin in the power play, in the middle overs. He's used Ashwin in the super overs also. I think used Ashwin in super overs also. Players like
Sam Curran.
I think he likes those players. Yeah, I think that's where
Yusuf Pathan was one. Yusuf Pathan
Yusuf
was there.
Pathan,
Suresh Raina was
Munaf
there.
Patel, Joginder
Yeah.
Sharma. I think the best example.
No, I'll tell you. In
He
terms of utility players, I remember from 2011 squad, it was Suresh Raina, Yusuf Pathan, Yuvraj Singh.
yeah,
So these players could come anywhere.
and he
And I
loved
I
think
believe
indoors.
the
He
biggest
didn't. I
trump
think
card in 2011 World Cup was getting in Suresh Raina for the quarterfinals ahead of Yusuf Pathan, who was an X Factor player back then. In 2011, Yusuf Pathan was a big name. And to
Yeah,
get
of
in
course.
Suresh Raina in place of Yusuf Pathan
and
coming in at
he
number
used
7.
and you look at Amazoni's white ball team. It was full of these utility players, right? I think if
Yeah, but
Also,
I don't
Yusuf
know
Pathan coming in to
what really
open in the
sparked this debate,
2007
but we haven't
T20
even
World Cup
gone out
final.
of context to analyze 2011 World Cup squad. We just come back. 11 साल हो गया है.
I mean,
We're talking about
Virat Kohli
20.
would just love to win the 2022 T20 World Cup to be the
Yeah.
second player along with Dhoni to have 3 titles with him.
Wow,
Like
that's
3.
interesting.
All the 3, like T20 World Cup, Champions Trophy, and ODI World Cup.
Why not Ashwin?
Ashwin hasn't won the ODI World Cup.
He has won the
No,
ODI
no,
World Cup.
sorry,
but he
sorry,
was
sorry.
it's the T20 World Cup,
Ashwin hasn't
right?
won the T20 World Cup as well. Yeah, so Ashwin and Kohli. So 2 players.
Yeah. Not bad. Not
And
bad.
and Rohit Sharma will be eyeing the ODI World Cup next year.
So yeah, there are a lot of things to be yet won. And last time around when Rohit Sharma and DK played together in a T20 World Cup, India went on to win the T20 World Cup, just to put it there. Raj Bawa should be there. Raj Bawa, yes, he had a man of the match performance in the Under 19 World Cup final. He
I
also
think
picked up 4
I
wickets
feel
recently.
if Raj Bawa was picked up by a team like Mumbai, I think Mumbai would have been an ideal team for him to go in the IPL.
You know what? He still has to
Uh,
improve a lot in his batting. His
Yeah,
ball
yeah.
seems to be
Yeah,
fine.
and that's my point, right? I think Mumbai is the best place to go as a young IPL player. I
Yeah.
think you go there. I think before it was Rajasthan for me, but now Mumbai has kind of transformed itself, and Rajasthan has sort of
Becomes a
become a
youth
big match
academy
player.
of players.
But now I think Mumbai is the place to go as a. I
Yeah.
think CSK is the
It
worst.
has
team to
always
go as a
been
young
KKR
player.
for me because they have the best of facilities for youngsters. They have
Nah,
backed
I
players
think I
like
don't.
Shivam Ravi,
I
Kamesh
really don't think
Nagarkoti
as a young
for
player he should
5
go to
years
KKR.
now.
I'll be
You know
honest
what?
because KKR.
He should be sent to
I'll tell you
RCB
what.
because there's a number
KKR
5
under
opening.
Gautam Gambhir would have been a very good place to go as an IPL player.
Yeah.
KKR under I don't know whom. KKR under whomsoever in the next season. beat Shreyas Iyer. I don't think Shreyas Iyer is gonna got him another. I think half a season. You see Shreyas Iyer if he plays like
Who's
he's
the
playing
new
right now.
coach of KKR? Is it Trevor Bellis again? No, Trevor Bellis has gone to SRH. Who's been the new coach of KKR? I forgot.
Chandrakant Pandit, right?
Oh, Chandrakant Pandit. I think
Chandrakant
he's a
Pandit.
good coach. He's a good coach.
He's a
He's a
good
good
Great
coach.
coach,
coach.
but my point is, I think this KKR is a bad place to go as a young player because you don't know what you're gonna do. You won't know your role, and I hope
No,
Chandrakant
no.
Pandit brings
I think with
something into it.
Chandrakant Pandit stepping in and Brendan McCullum going out, I think there is going to be a change in some of the tactics because KKR has played this brand of cricket where
Yeah,
they
but
have
my
been
point being, KKR, I don't think you can blame Brendan McCullum there because
no, not
his
just
tactics
Brendan
are doing
McCullum.
great in
This sort of
England.
attitude has been going on since
I
Gautam
feel
Gambhir.
I feel it's kind of I feel maybe it's one of two things for me. One, I feel it's the captaincy. I felt Shreyas Iyer maybe being the younger captain. I think KKR has done really well when there's been a captain who really takes hold of the team. Owen Morgan, Gautam Gambhir. These are the two captains that come to my mind. The moment KKR doesn't have a good captain, right, or captain doesn't have the control of the team. I'm Saurav Ganguly is a great captain, but he never had a control of the KKR team. Dinesh Karthik, Shreyas Iyer right now.
And
These
that was
players don't
also
have the
during
control
the
of the team.
later stages of Saurav Ganguly's
Yeah, I
career
think
where
when they don't have control
yeah.
of the team, I feel the management kind of goes a bit crazy and
Hmm.
they start taking the decision instead of the captain, and that's where things go wrong. And that's why I feel being a young player going into that team is just horrible for you.
I mean, I think Raj Bava still got a lot to improve in terms of him. I think he should
Yeah,
focus a lot
and
on his
I
batting.
feel even
For
if
India
he
A,
had
he
gone to
got an
Mumbai,
opportunity.
right? If he had
So
gone
he
to
was
Mumbai,
fast tracked a little bit for India A.
especially if he had gone to Mumbai, especially the Mumbai that we saw this year, because this
Yeah.
year's Mumbai was searching for young players, and the fact that Mumbai is really good with young players, I think Mumbai's got a magic touch when it comes to young players and players who are old who have not done that well in the recent past. I think old players who have not done that well in the recent past and young players, Mumbai's got that magic touch. They have that touch in them to get these players to do
I mean, the
well.
recent past, RCB has not done anything bad as well. They got
Um,
Harshal Patel,
I
Siraj,
think
VK, Rajat
uh,
Patidar. I can give you a list who has played for India now.
yeah,
So,
I mean, but then I really don't see RCB do as well as CSK or
you know what? I still think I'll give you three franchises who can be really good for youngsters. One is Mumbai Indians. Second was Rajasthan Royals. Third is RCB. Chennai Super Kings is not an ideal place.
no,
KKR is
Chennai
also
is
a very
not.
good
But
franchise.
I
But
think
KKR knows how to take care
maybe
of the
starting
players.
from
Because of now the latest academy
2024,
setup, it's very good. Because
I think
Sandy Mani
starting
mentioned
from
it
But
as
you have to give it to KKR. I'm telling you because Dinesh Karthik had this brilliant season playing for RCB. But I mean, the foundations were laid in KKR. No, Chris Gale
yeah, makes
really
sense.
struggled. Yeah, Chris Gale really struggled in 2008 to 2010 with his injuries. Went to RCB, started scoring these centuries.
Yeah,
so I
Ajanta
think the
come
idea
Mendes
on,
was
is
from
man.
KKR. Sunil
That is
Narayan
just
was from KKR.
nonsense.
I
All
That
of
think
is
the
how a
idea
Surya
is
Kumar
Yadav
Yadav.
playing up.
I think the
Kumar
idea
Yadav
is
was introduced to
so the
IPL
moment
by
Shreyas
KKR.
Iyer, the thing is now Shreyas Iyer needs to do is get himself out of KKR, go to another team,
So
and then
he's
out of
trying to say that KKR lays foundation for coaches
yeah,
and
I
players
think
who really don't
KKR is
perform well there. They set the base
sort
so they
of
don't perform well there, go somewhere else and succeed.
Yeah,
Such a
we'll save this
modest
debate
team.
for
Such a
February or March. Let's just end this
See,
now.
Brendan McKenna, for example, went out of KKR after all the criticism.
oh
Now
my.
he's become the best coach in Test format period.
So how do you explain Chandrakant Pandit then? He's coming off a high in Ranji Trophy.
Yeah,
So he'll
now
be
we
back
see
there.
Dip now.
After he gets sacked out of KKR, he'll go win another two Ranji Trophy with some other unknown teams. He might take over
So imagine
Kerala
if he
and
goes
Kerala
to
will win
another
a Ranji
IPL
Trophy.
team. Let's say, okay, imagine this. He gets sacked. I hope it doesn't happen for all KKR fans out there. But imagine he goes to KKR, gets
you are
sacked,
Loki expecting
goes
it
to
to happen.
RCB,
Like you are wanting it to
goes to
happen. I know Abel
RCB,
for sure is
and wins
wanting
the
Chandrakant
IPL.
Pandit to fail as a coach in KKR unit.
No,
Imagine
Just
to
so
be
this.
that he
very
can have
honest,
that.
I mean, you guys hear me out. Hear me out. Imagine Chandrakant Pandit gets sacked in KKR, goes to RCB, wins the IPL. I
wow, it's quite a story. Huh? But I really don't see Chandrakant Pandit in IPL. He's not an IPL material. T20 is
yeah, but I
not
mean,
his
if
thing.
this experiment works, you might
That's
see
not
Indian
bad,
coaches
but
suddenly become
I have my
the
own
fad.
stay. I have my own thing to it. I still think
See, okay, even
KKR
if
should have gone
even
with
if for
someone.
not for player development, I
Yeah,
think KKR is a very good team for, like, they have a very good sort of pool of people who sort of scout the talents, because KKR
yeah,
has
that's very
Yeah, yeah,
good.
always
I agree. This I
I'll
scouted
agree.
one of
agree.
the best
I like the
talents.
way they brought this. I forgot his name. He was a tennis ball player who KKR scouted and took in the team. He scored some 200 runs or 50 balls in some tennis ball tournaments,
He's an
and just
all-rounder. I
because of
think
his bat
he's
swing and
got
mystery spin, he was brought in the team. And
yeah.
he was brought for 20 lakhs. He was like a wild card pick. Yeah, SS98 is rightly mentioned. Mumbai's whole auction strategy was based on the future. They are looking to build an academy of young players. Now there is Ritik
Also, I
Shawkeen,
think
there
if
is
you look at the team,
Kartikeya.
right?
Still not a fan of Devil
I think if you
Brevis
look at
batting
the
at number
team,
3 ahead of Tim David.
no, I think if you look at the team, I also think there's one more edge to Mumbai's auction strategy. I think if you look at the team, Brevis, Stubbs, and Tim David, Tilak Verma. Tilak Verma, I think I'll still keep an exception, but I think these players they can contract these players for every league that Mumbai goes for future now.
Yeah.
These three players will be the core of any team now going forward.
And
This could be
Archer, I don't know about Archer. It's still a dicey situation.
so. I think this new trend that you're seeing with the IPL franchises going out buying teams. I think you might see
How many?
Brevis,
How many do
Stubbs,
they have? I think
David.
they have Brevis for Cape Town, and they have Rashid Khan and Sam Curran. So they don't really have a lot of players from the same franchise because Stubbs was brought by Eastern Cape Sunrisers.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think they
almost
lost. I think that was a tough call. They kind
it
of
was a tough
lost out on
call.
the
They
auction.
wanted Stubbs so bad, but you know what? They're trying to
But
build that the core.
but
They're trying to
I
build
think
that
I think
academy.
that's also I think in tournaments where you have draft pick, right, where you have tournaments where you have draft pick instead of auction, there you might see Mumbai look at these players as their future because these are very young players and very prolific players. You might see them try and build franchises around these players everywhere now, wherever
Hmm.
Mumbai goes. That is,
Makes sense.
at
Makes
least
sense.
if draft is possible. No auction, I think it's not easy because the more better these players do, the more if Brevis start doing really well, then I don't think you will be able to pick them in any auction together because that's gonna ruin your whole auction.
But
But
it's good. Mumbai
in
had
drafts, I think
Mumbai has got one of the best talent scouting pools. So they've
yeah, yeah.
actually identified these players and invested in them.
And
And
it's
the right
global. I
team.
think they're the only IPL team which has got a global network of
I would say
scouts.
Marco Jansen, for example, came into the light because of
Yeah, yeah.
Mumbai Indians. Now he's one of the integral part of South African setup in all the three formats as well. So Mumbai Indians have got this knack. So having said that, we'll end our life. It's been a long life. We discussed a lot of things around the world of cricket. So it was indeed a boomer cricket talk. So we talked about leagues, we talked about international cricket, we covered some 4 teams there. We discussed 2011 World Cup, we discussed T20 World Cups,
We have come a
test
whole
format.
circle, and let's just end it right
So
now. Yeah.
I think we just have to end it right now because even there is no topics enough to discuss. I know we can still talk about a few more topics, but then I think that's for another day. And we'll end the live right here because we are going to be having an exciting cricketing season to start out with. Once again, World Cup is just 2 weeks away from today, and the qualifier starts in 10 days' time. So we'll be back. We'll be covering that extensively. But before that, there is tri series of Pakistan. There's India South Africa one day. So we'll be back live again tomorrow because we'll be covering the India versus South Africa one day match. So we'll be discovering some young talents over there, talking about Sanju Samson's 100 or something like that. So
I really hope. Big fan of Sanju Samson. I think this is a moment he can really make inroads into the Indian team because India looking at future players and Rahul Dravid,
very
Sanju
surprised you're
Samson,
not a Sanju fan today. Or else where is Sanju
cricket
Samson?
freaks. I think his name is. I
Yeah,
think
whatever it is. Good night, guys. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and also do like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. Click the bell icon so next time we go live, you get a notification. And also click on the link and download our app right now so you can play the fantasy contest tomorrow. There's a Legends League happening there. There's also cricket, India versus South Africa happening. Pakistan, Bangladesh, and New Zealand tri series begins day after tomorrow, early morning. If you are a early bird or if you don't sleep at all at night, you can stay awake and watch the match. And if you're an ardent Pakistani fan like Aisha, she'll be up in the morning watching it. So good night and have a good time. Bye bye.
Good
good
night,
night,
guys.
guys.